Hello and welcome from Perth in Western Australia. It's the UCI Track World Cup, the third and final day of the first round of 3 rounds for 2026. It's a wonderful part of Australia. It's a wonderful part of the world, Perth and the greater state of Western Australia. Let's have a look at a little bit more about this beautiful city and state. The city lights of Perth, of course, do dance across the Swan River as Elizabeth Quay comes alive at night. Whether it's the skyline at Matagara Bridge, the golden sands of Scarborough and Cottesloe, or those wonderful Indian Ocean sunsets, there is so much to see. Beyond the capital, head down to Bustleton and the jetty that stretches into turquoise waters. Ancient crystal shimmers deep inside Jewel Cave, and the Cape to Cape track traces rugged coastline through the southwest. Margaret River pairs world-class wines and dramatic ocean scenery, and just a little bit offshore, magical Rottnest Island awaits with its famous quokka. Western Australia is where dream events happen, and we capture that spirit and energy at Perth Speed Dome as the world's fastest riders launch the 2026 UCI Track World Cup. And the third and final day about to get going. You can see the riders doing their final preparations and warm-ups. Temperatures, Cape Bates, a little bit less than it has been the last 2 days, but it's still quite toasty inside the track here as Elise Andrews, the Olympic champion, gets ready.
It has been some incredible racing for day 1 and 2 here in glorious Perth. You mentioned it is quite warm. A hot track is a fast track, and we have seen some blistering racing from the likes of the man here, Azazul Arwang. He flew over the top to take gold in the keirin tonight. He's looking for another in the men's sprint.
Well, those riders that we did see there, as we look at the details of the track itself, very steep bankings, long straights here and quite sharp transitions as you look down the back straight there, up into the first bend. So 43-degree angles around the bends, 12 degrees down the straights. But those riders that were warming up, they are the big favourites for tonight. The women's sprint, women's keirin and the men's sprint is on tonight. So some of the best in the world are here, of course, but we will kick things off with an endurance race, the women's omnium, the first of 4 races within that particular event, and scratch race, before we go into those sprint disciplines. The men's semi-finals of the sprints, and the second round, which is effectively a semi-final for the women's keirin as well. The men's Madison is on tonight, 9 teams in that one. We had the women's last night. Can't wait to see the men's Madison later on today.
So 4 gold medals up for grabs on the final night of racing here in Perth. By now we get a bit of an idea of which countries are performing, and look at that, Australia on top of the medal tally. People's Republic of China, they have been riding particularly strong in the sprint events.
So many teams with 2 gold medals. That'll all change tonight. Perhaps in the omnium, one of those nations can go up to 3 and be on the top of the leaderboard in terms of the medal ceremonies. Alyssa Pilates is the young Australian that'll be representing her home country here on her home boards. Chen Ning from China, Techikova from Czechia, but we do need to also look out for Anita Stenberg, number 13 from Norway, and also Yarila Acevedo, already a gold medalist this week, and she's ready to go here. One of the favourites, World Points Race champion.
And fitting to start the evening with a women's race on International Women's Day. And what incredible role models they are out on the track. My love of cycling came from watching those who went before me, Connie Carpenter and Rebecca Twigg and Antonella Baludi. And these are the names that some of the young girls will be putting on their walls in the future.
Looking at the gold medalists from the Madison in the women's race last night, Suyaka Uchino, the 24-year-old. She'll certainly be one of the favourites here. Stenberg, one that is not a standout when it comes to the sprint events like this. In the final laps, she might not be the winner of the scratch race, but she's such a strong rider that she should be consistent throughout all 4 of the disciplines. Uchino from Japan is a good sprinter. We saw her dominate the sprints in the women's Madison last night, so expect her to put up a good showing here in this scratch race to open up the women's omnium.
Well, Stenberg was 5th at the Olympic Games in Paris in the omnium. She's just a very consistent rider, 33 years of age, and has been a very dominant leading force in building cycling, especially track cycling for females in Norway. She's 29 times national champion in Norway across track events, but also road time trial and the road race as well. She's a very inspiring athlete.
Do you know what her favourite board game is? Monopoly, with 29 national championships. That's what she's created up there. So easy pace to start with. 40 laps of the track. First to the finish is the winner. Sounds obvious, but if a lap is taken, that changes. Alyssa Pilates, she's an aggressive style of rider, so she'd be one that wouldn't mind attacking. She did a really good Madison last night as well. Silver medal for the Australians with Kira Wilt.
And she was quite pleased with the effort. I had a chat to her over dinner. She acknowledged that you really have to keep your eyes open because Mexico had a very late rush in the women's Madison and nearly turned the whole thing on its head. But she seems quite calm and confident. I think for a lot of the young riders, and we have a mixed field of experience and riders gaining experience, one of the things they really need to learn is patience. So this is a 4-event omnium, and you really can't afford to leave it all out there in the first race. You have to play a bit of a waiting and patience game.
Sefikova swings up for Chetja. Then it's Acevedo, 5th at the World Championships last year. She won the points race, 5th in the omnium, goes to the back of the field in the less familiar colours for Mexico, the green skin suit. Looks very good though.
Well, the Mexican team last night, Acevedo riding with Ariola, they were really patient. They bided their time, and when they made a move, a lot of the other teams, I think, had sort of put them in the back of their mind, thinking they haven't been too active, we don't need to worry about them. You always need to worry about Acevedo when you can win a world points race champion, and she's the incumbent world champion. You have to have enough speed that you can go well in a scratch race, in a tempo race, or in an elimination. But when you have a field of 11, it's also possible to get marked out if too many people are watching for you.
32 laps to go. And we do have, when we had that wide shot, just watch as they come around down the finishing straight. You'll see all of the spectators. Really good representation here tonight, but you'll see them all fanning themselves. It is quite toasty in here. There they are, clapping away as you go down the finishing straight there.
The fans with fans.
Our biggest fans, they're out here in the stands.
This is not too dissimilar to what we saw in the men's event last night. A conservative start in the scratch race. Everybody just doing their turn, doing their half lap and watching, seeing, testing out how everybody is feeling. And I notice that Chino swings up, but also straight away the rider from Uzbekistan following there. She's the youngest rider in the field.
Well, 29 to go. No attacks just yet. Pilates goes on the front. I know she's chomping at the bit. She'd love to get on the attack now, but she does want a couple of other riders to be as willing as her. Very difficult to try and make the race hard if you're the only one willing to do so. Uchino. Expect something special from her in the last couple of laps if it does come down to a bunch sprint. The longer we go at this tempo, the more likely that bunch sprint will be. "27 laps to go in the scratch race, the first discipline within the women's omnium. 4 races that they have in total. After this is the tempo race, then it's the elimination, and finishing up with the points race later on tonight. But 26 laps to go as Uchino from Japan, the Madison winner last night, comes through looking very comfortable. Sedate pace so far.
And Uchino showed in the Madison last night. She got flung in for most of the sprints. They won 9 of the 12 sprints and featured in 11 of the 12. That she's got quite a turn of speed. So she will just be looking to hold the good wheel and get comfortable, expecting to finish in the top couple.
Well, the UCI Track World Cup here in Perth at the Speed Dome, the first of 3. Hong Kong and Malaysia, Nilai, just south of Kuala Lumpur, next month. And of course, all of these athletes focusing and trying to get enough points to qualify for the World Championships in Shanghai in October. And also the points toward the end of this year, the World Championships will now start to work towards qualifications for the Olympic Games in 2028 in Los Angeles.
And we are seeing a wonderful crop of young new riders coming through, desperately looking for the experience and also those precious qualification points. We're starting to see a real increase in pace. You can see that because some gaps are opening, and also the body language of the riders. They do get down a little bit lower when the speed increases.
Yeah, that was Daniela Campos from Portugal. Noticed her a little bit earlier on, just drifting off the back a little bit, not wanting to go through and do a turn of pace. And that was why, because she wants to go on the attack and try and harden this up a little bit, but didn't break the field. That's her sitting in second position now. Stenberg, Anita Stenberg on the front, the 33-year-old.
Stenberg, the most experienced in the race, and our youngest rider, Rizeva, one of a young talent coming out of Tashkent in Uzbekistan. They've got some beautiful facilities there, and they're starting to rebuild their program. They've had some great champions in the past. And these steps, these World Cups on the way to the World Championships, are a really important part of developing the young athletes.
New coach for Uzbekistan, our old friend, Joachim Dornbusch, or Yodo. He was my mechanic back when I was racing the 6 days back in the day, and also on the road. Been a long time coach and team manager for different teams, to Nuremberg and a whole bunch of other women's teams back in the day, and now looking after Uzbekistan, based out of Tashkent. So one attack, didn't really cause much damage. 18 laps to go, still all together as Uccino once again drags the peloton down the back straight, now up in the banking over the Western Australian sign.
And as we get closer, we're in the second half of the race already, as we get closer to that 10-lap mark, where people really protect their positions, the turns on the front are getting shorter. So for the first 20 laps, most people were doing their half lap, swinging off. We're lucky to see a 40 or 50 metre turn from any of the riders at this point. But that's smart racing. You're not under any obligation to sit on the front of the bunch. The idea is to get to the finish in the best shape in this race in particular, because it is that order over the finish line that will get them the points.
Ramirez from Trinidad and Tobago swings up in the red and white colours all the way to the back of the bunch. 30-year-old. Rides for the Legion of Los Angeles Criterium team in the US, both men's and women's teams. Quite flamboyant mob they are. National champion in the road race and in the time trial as well at the moment. So good on the road. Should suit her as we get deeper into this omnium, especially as we get towards that points race as the final discipline.
A lot of the attributes you use to be a good criterium rider, you've got to be quite dynamic. You need to be able to recover in between the bursts of acceleration. That's very similar to the kind of athletes we see in the omnium. We will have a few riders, Uccino is a good example, that are faster. Certainly they like to wait for the sprint moments and the points, and then you've got some of the other riders, and Ramirez is a really good example from Trinidad and Tobago, road race champion for the nation, time trial champion, so they prefer to push for the breaks. And we will see in the subsequent races that really emerge. You'll really be able to see the different styles of the riders.
Li Ziwing from Hong Kong swings up, the light blue colours. Acevedo from Mexico now, then Pilates comes through, the Australian. Campos again, after that one acceleration, hasn't decided to kick the pedals in anger since then. Might be now waiting as we're getting to 11 laps to go. Starting to get in those final 10 where they start to really think about saving as much energy as possible for the final sprint. And that's also the moment of hesitation, that you can go on the attack in the final 10 laps and hope to survive.
Sometimes those moments of acceleration are actually to test how you're feeling, because you feel one way in the warm-up, but sometimes it's a little bit different when you're out on the bike. Of course, they're also choosing gears, but the conditions, especially related to the heat, can change the track conditions. Sometimes you also just want to let everybody in the bunch know that you're here for business. They need to pay attention and take you seriously. It can be a bit of psychological warfare as well.
I used to use the stairs walk up the stairs first thing in the morning. If the legs hurt, I thought I'd be in trouble. I'll just take it easy, snivel on the wheels a little bit until I start feeling better. So we're inside the final 10 laps. 8 laps to go now. Uchino once again on the front. Anguilla from Spain follows her up. Didn't hit the front at all. And look at that, just peeling off. Nobody wanting to waste energy.
It is a track, 250 metres as standard Olympic tracks are, but you've described it as having long straights, and they are quite tight bends. But what that has shown us this week is you don't have too much of an advantage leading from the front. Some tracks with tighter straights, it's a bit easier when you go from first wheel, but a lot of riders have been gaining a big advantage off the banking and into that finishing line, which makes riders a little bit hesitant to take responsibility. We saw the riders swing up the track, they're back down the track, but really nobody yet, with 6 laps to go, is wanting to fully commit to taking this to the finish.
Campos from Portugal, she swings up.
Rizeva looking over her shoulder, the youngest rider out there, here gaining experience, but she is a big talent.
Anguilla, little bit of a move there, but didn't want to go on with it. So still very, very coy. 4 laps to go into the final kilometre. This is the scratch race, the first discipline within the 4-race Omnium series for the women here in Perth at the UCI Track World Cup. And Anguilla now lobbed on the front with Campos from Portugal beside her. Uchino, she will be wanting to fight through here to get into a good position. Do not want to get boxed in. So important, not just to try and win this race for the maximum points, 40 points to win, 38, 36 and so forth. But you have to fight all the way to make sure that you're not last. You need to try and maximise the points that you can get here.
And our favourites coming in for this event specifically, Acevedo and Uchino, they are lost in the back, but the first to move is Stenberg, the most experienced rider out there, taking no chances.
And she'll come round to get the bell. A little bit of a flick there in the middle of the field from Pilates, but it's Stenberg with a big flyer. Can she hold on? Absolutely motoring into this final back straight now. Sevchikova from Checha over the top. And Pilates in. Oh, a little bit of a flick for Pilates, but Stenberg is going to get the win. She'll get the maximum 40 points. And then it's Checha, Sevchikova in second. Hong Kong, I think, may have been third there. Li Xingwing. And Alyssa Pilates won't be too happy because she was the recipient of a bit of a hook through the final bend that flicked her up the track. But really good, strong performance there from a pre-race favourite in Anita Stenberg.
Well, the commissaires will take a look at that, but Stenberg, beautiful ride from her. We mentioned very early on, she's not the fastest rider out there, but she is the most experienced. She was 5th at the Olympic Games in the Omnium, and she was 5th by way of consistency as well. She knows that in a field like this, she needs to really ride to her strengths, and her biggest strength is experience. And you can see when she makes the move, really nobody is ready for her. Pilates she was the first to be able to notice it in any way, but not quick enough, and that's when the gap opened up.
And it was just here. Oh, and Alyssa actually did hit the wheel of Sevchikova, so she clipped the back wheel. Maybe a little bit of user error on her part there, but
I mean, I feel
that was close.
I think the commissaires will review that, and from our position, we can see them all in a bit of a huddle having a look. They do need to review and make sure everything is clean. What is sure is that Stenberg, clear air. Behind her, beautiful clean ride from her. It did get a little bit messier in the bunch. She'll be able to go and keep those legs warm and get some hydration between the next round.
So confirmation of the first discipline within the Omnium, the scratch race. Anita with the 40 points ahead of Petra on 38. Li Xingwing 36. And Pilates still was in the points as well, despite that scary moment, clipping the back wheel of Sevchikova. Scary little moment, though, as you think at the point of impact. You can see just here the Australian just there. Whoa.
Well, she comes out of noticeably comes out of the sprinters lane.
She did.
So it wouldn't surprise me if the Australians have a word to the commissaires about that as well.
It's scary. Those moments are really scary. On to the men's sprint semi-finals now. They've gone through the early rounds and we are left with 4. And they are the big 4 names from within the men's sprint competition. Fastest qualifier, Matthew Richardson, the world record holder, the European champion. He was second in the keirin last night to this man, Azizul Awang. And there is a bit of discussion today that Matty Richardson thought he had the win, and about halfway down the finishing straight in the keirin last night, eased off a little bit thinking he was about to win, then realised you never sit up when Awang is in the race.
I mean, I like to say you only make that mistake once, but sometimes you do see it made multiple times. Matty Richardson taking the lead. He's wearing the European champions colours there, but riding for Great Britain. You may have noticed how many people were giving him a big old cheer because this is his home track. He moved to Australia from the United Kingdom when he was 9 years of age. He was a gymnast, but the WA Institute of Sport got him into cycling. What a great result that was. This morning in qualifying, he rode a 9.325, which was the track record and also the fastest time ever ridden in Australia. Is he on form? Fair to say yes. Does that always matter in a sprint? Well, based on what we saw in the keirin last night, Awang can never be underestimated.
I think for Richardson, he will be fired up after getting second yesterday. Awang, though, just a great craft within the sport. Masterclass when it comes to skills, but Richo certainly has stepped up in that department as well. Pure speed, but also very, very skillful. So they'll come around to get 1.5 laps to go. Awang not too keen to go to the front, just keeps edging and pushing, trying to force Richardson to waste energy on the front. And they're going to come around now to get the bell. This is the first in the best of 3 race here. And dive to go underneath. Richardson down off the track completely there. Tried to counteract the move from Awang. He still has the advantage out in front though, Richo. Awang trying to come up over the top, and we know how fast Matthew Richardson is. That's going to be impossible to get past from there. So Richardson goes 1 up in the best of 3 competition in the men's semi-final, heat 1. But gee, he didn't go just down onto the blue band. He went right off onto the concrete at the bottom of the track.
And the commissaires will take a look at that too, because they are very keen these days to make sure the riders keep their lines. Awang, that was classy to go under but keep Richo guessing, and that's a dangerous part to be on the concrete. The concrete is flat where the track is banked, and so you can very easily come undone there, but you can see the control that Richardson has. He went 2 up in the quarterfinals against Kiriltsev quite easily, in quite dominant fashion, and there he looked confident. Well, it wasn't full gas to the line.
No, it was a confident win, but leaving the track like that, in another sport, that'd be a 5-spot grid penalty for sure.
Yeah, it's a hairy moment. He knows this track so well, though.
Well,
better than any.
Tell you what, though, if Awang was underneath the wheel then and got forced off the track, that would have been really messy. Yeah, absolutely. Heat number 2 now, and Lee Hoffman, the Whyalla Wonder, up onto the track, nice and early, up against Mikhail Yakovlev, biggest man in the sprint competition. So second fastest qualifier, Yakovlev from Israel, and Hoffman third fastest, but very, very tight, both riding 9.5 seconds. And Mikhail, when he arrived here the other day, maybe just because he did come through Perth Airport, but he arrived in a brand new high-vis shirt. It looked like he was a FIFO worker. Thought that may have been the local trend, as it is quite popular over here with all the mining industries. But Hoffman versus Yakovlev. Second semi-final, first race in the men's semi-finals, best of 3.
Yakovlev through the quarterfinals in clean fashion, beating Makami 2-0. Hoffman the same with Peterka, but he had to really work for at least one of those rounds before tidying up his sprint game.
A lot more speed on in this one.
Well, both, I mean, Hoffman has an incredible explosive power, and Yakovlev does not want to give him the opportunity to unleash that from a low speed.
Coming to the bell this time, Hoffman in front, Yakovlev in second position. The bronze medalist from the World Championships in the sprint is in the front position, but the big man from Israel, Yakovlev, powers up around the outside, shorter distance on the inside, fight back from Hoffman. Yakovlev gets there. So good fight back from Lee, but just didn't get the acceleration right going into the back straight. Advantage went to Mikhail, And he's such a powerful man. He was able to stay on the outside in front, and he goes one up.
And big levers, 199 centimetres. And for some context, Matthew Richardson is 172 centimetres. He's just a strong and powerful rider. He's got incredible acceleration in his saddle. So once he gets to top speed, he can really hold that. It has been the trend this week that coming off the bank, you've been able to hold a fair bit of speed. I think Hoffman will really learn from that. But that was a tough and tight competition.
Well, going into that final bend, Lee would have known he was in trouble. Mikhail was just enough in front of him to give him that advantage. He was going to fight back underneath, of course, but still reasonably close between them. So Lee will have to rethink his tactics, come back out, try and force a decider by winning the next one. But Yakovlev, one up in the second of our two semi-finals.
I'm told that Yakovlev is really fitting into Australian culture. He bought himself a Bonds singlet. Now, for anyone who's been to Australia, Bonds is, quite an iconic kind of leisure wear brand. So he's been seen wandering around in one of those.
Leisure wear?
Leisure wear and underwear, but not this particular item.
I'm not, yeah. Women's keirin, semi-finals. Alicia McCaig. So Alicia McCaig, fourth in the World Championships last year. That was her first time in the big final for the elite women's.
And a medal in the team sprint. She really has had a sensational progression, the 22-year-old. Li Zhongwang from China. And our world champion, isn't that beautiful, resplendent colours from Mina Sato, 27 years of age. 2 years in a row she has won the rainbow stripes and gets the honour of wearing them in this competition. The Derny comes through, starts at 30 kilometres per hour and accelerates consistently up to 50 kilometres per hour, swings off at the pursuit line with 3 laps left to go, and then the riders really unleash the speed. Until then, there's a bit of a psychological game, taking some deep breaths.
So Zita Geisens from Belgium, first rider behind Shane Perkins. It's riding the motorbike, the former keirin world champion.
Well, Geisens is our youngest rider in this competition, 18 years of age. This is her first International Elite World Cup. She was a silver medalist in the Junior World Championships in the sprint event last year. It's wonderful to see the talent and the youth step up.
Katerina Lanova is in second position. Behind her is Wang Liyong from China, third position. The bike will come off the next time they come around. Then you see Olivia King, a 25-year-old from Waikato in New Zealand, the black colours, McCaig, and then the current world champion in Sato in sixth position. First 3 riders will go through into the final. Big gap starting to open up a little bit here. There's an opportunity for the 2 in front. If they notice that, start the acceleration a little bit earlier. Get the advantage while you have it. 2 laps to go and huge gaps. McCaig is the first one to crack. She wants to make sure she closes that down.
Well, Sato and McCaig come in with a big tick next to their name, but if they run out of time here, they need to make sure they're even within contention.
So Lanova, first one to come through, the 19-year-old. Then it's McCaig. The world champion Sato will have to go 4 wide to get through to this one. Really tight. She has to keep pushing on it if she wants to make the final. The world champ might miss out. McCaig goes through. She gets a win. So she goes through into the final. And the world champion, Mina Sato, will not be racing in the final here and at the Track Nations Cup in Perth. That's the depth of talent that we have in women's sprinting.
We have had a couple of upsets so far. Alessia McCaig, she wins that round, and a massive cheer from the crowd. And there we have it. Alessia McCaig goes through Li Zhongwang, and Katerina Evlenova, she kind of snuck in underneath. And here you can see Evlenova was the first to accelerate. McCaig had positioned herself really well. This is where Sato left it just a bit too late and got caught so high on the track. She's travelling so much further than any of the other riders. just not able to do it.
And Olivia King almost getting through. 4th place, really tight there in the black colours. Look, push to the line. So Sato finishing in 5th. She'll be devastated with that. But good ride there from McKaig. She's a skillful rider, really crafty.
I think McKaig and Sato, with a lap and a half to go, were still a long way back. It was a bit of a risk to ride like that. It really worked out for McKaig. I mean, a wonderful thing about as they go through the rounds, they'll go back into the middle, talk to their team staff, and when they've progressed to the next round, yes, you won, Alessia. Is that the best way to do it? What can we learn from that? How can we develop? And that's why Keirin Racing is so interesting, because it's ever evolving.
Heat number 2 now in the 2nd round / semi-final of the women's Keirin. Former world champion Nikki de Grendele, 29-year-old. Knows how to win at the highest level. Theo Bos, the new coach for Belgium, the Dutchman. And you see Lea Friedrich from Germany. And the winner of the sprint yesterday, the 20-year-old Huan Li Ying. She is a sensation. Interesting to see how she goes. Veronika Yabornikova, and then Lysenko, Alina Lysenko, the European Keirin champion, and the Olympic Keirin champion in Elise Andrews. So a stacked field.
A very stacked field. Olympic champion, former world champion, current European champion. And the one probably with the least credentials in this event is the 20-year-old Huan from China, who has won 2 gold medals so far at this competition, an upset in the team sprint against Germany, and also winning the individual sprint yesterday, beating Elise Andrews. She is just an incredible talent. Every time she gets out on the track, her bio does not do her trajectory justice, so definitely something to watch.
For those of you that have come back into watching track cycling, if you remember the old days of the Keirin, you saw the start then when you used to be able to fight for position behind the bike. Now they do draw for positions to be on the track, but they must also start in those positions as well behind the bike for at least the first lap.
And they can't at any point approach the back wheel of the Derny, so even if there's a 1 millimetre overlap, they will get relegated from the race. That mistake has been made. Arwang made it at the Paris Olympic Games. So sometimes nerves gets the better of experience.
Andrews giving a little bit of room. And you can see as they come around towards 3 laps to go, gaps open up a little bit just to give themselves a little bit of room to run at the rider in front in case there's an attack from behind. Bike is off. Andrews, the Olympic champion, leads the way. Andrews
is good from the front. Lysenko, the European champion, looking over her shoulder, but it is Huan who we need to look out for. She's the first to accelerate, 4 back. Andrews still holding strong, but not enough. Lysenko takes the lead.
Well, Andrews, the Olympic champion on that golden bike. Big mistake from her. She was caught napping as Huan goes straight over the top. It's going to be a super long sprint from her. She was so good in the sprint last night, winning gold. Friedrich hooked up on the outside, the German. That's going to be hard to try and get into the top 3 from there. Lysenko it is in 2nd position, but we know how fast the rider from China is, and Huan is just dragging them around. And it will be Lysenko that finishes 2nd, and Yabornikova will get 3rd. Andrews misses out. The Olympic champion is out. The world champion is also out. That was quite a sensation.
It was. What I really noticed was, she not only went early, but with a lap to go, she got out of her seat again to accelerate. You don't get out of your seat if you're already at top speed. When she did that, the riders behind were already strung out. Andrews caught napping, but Huan will lead them through. Lysenko, the European champion, also through to the final. And I can't help but think Yabornikova just picked a perfect wheel and got a perfect ride through there as well.
She'll be delighted. And you look at the riders that have missed out, it's quite extraordinary. Friedrich caught up on the outside, and the gaps between them in terms of ability is so small now that you just cannot be 3-4 wide for more than a lap on the outside. You're just wasting so much energy, all the extra distance.
But Huan just so strong. I mean, we saw it in the team sprint, we saw it in the individual sprint, but she went so long and really didn't ever look in any kind of danger. Yabornikova, really impressive ride. She was 13th at the World Championships last year, so didn't even make this second round. So this is a big step up from her. It will give her a lot of confidence. And that is an absolutely sensational final list.
Well, 2 riders from China as well. And the youngster, Wan Liying, showing absolute sensational form. Back to the men's sprint, second of the semi-final races now, the first heat, race 2. Matthew Richardson, 1 up. Cameron Meyer, multiple times world champion in the points race. Madison, team pursuit as well as the coach. And Azazul Arwang must win this one to force a decider. Keirin champion here in Perth last night. This is first and second from last night's Keirin. Richardson looking for some redemption after that silver 24 hours ago.
Richardson, the fastest man in the world. He holds the world record that he broke in Konya. Under 9 seconds, 8.85.
Fairly quick.
Fairly rapid. But the beautiful thing about sprint racing is that speed is, of course, one factor. But as we can see, there is some jockeying happening. Arwang, what a show of skills. Neither of them wants to lead from the front. Oh.
And Richardson losing the front wheel and going down. That nice new European Championship skin suit will be looking a little bit worse for wear. Wasn't at high speed. No cut in the skin suit, just a little bit dusty.
I find it quite remarkable that they ride without gloves, because we did just see him sliding down the track with bare hands, and you can get splinters. The track surface, if you run your hand over it, is smooth, but sometimes when there's crashes, when your pedal hits the track, it can cause a few divots. And let's take a look. Arwang was sensational, and stable, but in trying to just reposition the wheel, Richardson just couldn't hold on, not enough on those 23mm tyres. They've got about 100 PSI in them.
Yeah, you see the front wheel just give way. Azazul, really smart what he did there, because often when they do that, the balancing act, the track stand, they do it in the middle of the back straight, but he took it right into the start of the bend here, very high on the track, and that forced Matt right into the steep section as well, and he adjusted the front wheel, slipped down he went.
And he's got the skills to do it. That's why it isn't just about speed. It's very clever how he did it. I said 100 PSI in the tyres. It's closer to 200. They are a real edge that they are sitting on at that angle. Remember, 43 degrees is the banking. I feel as though Arwang would be having a bit of a giggle to himself there. He doesn't want anybody to crash, but just the confidence in his skills.
So they will have a restart. No malice in that. It was just a little mistake there from Matt, forced by Arwang, and no criticism of Matthew Richardson at all. He's a very skillful rider. It was just the surprise attack, you could say, from Arwang, and the position on the track that he did it put the extra little bit of pressure on Matt.
It's wily. It was clever.
It was good. And Azazul will have the benefit now, because it was Matt that crashed. Arwang will get to choose which position he wants to be. So I imagine he's going to choose position number 2, because that's obviously what he was trying to get to in that race then.
Well, that would make sense. You might have just seen a crew member with a green T-shirt running out onto track. The commissaires are just taking a look at it. They've got to make sure that everything was clean and make sure that they don't need to intervene with any decisions. So they will review that footage a number of times until they're all satisfied. It will be a slight delay, because as they look at the footage, we also have a crew cleaning up the track and just making sure that it is smooth. They get the sandpaper out. They also get the vacuum cleaner, just to make sure the surface is perfect.
A little shake of the head there from Neil Haney, thinking that no malice, nothing intended. So just checking to make sure that there wasn't a touch of elbows or something that may have caused that. You can see it was just the front tyre slip.
Yep, and there we go, a little bit of sandpaper, and you can see that there is a little bit of a line down the track. That usually happens from a pedal or the side of a handlebar, sometimes a wheel nut, depending on the angle of the bike. Clean it up, dustpan and broom.
Good to go.
It's a very technical kit, the old track cleaning kit.
Well, technical. You've got the technical director there in the black shirt doing the final inspection, Mark Fulcher, technical director for the UCI. famous name in New South Wales cycling, Fulcher. And his within the Australian scene.
Yeah, with coaching and administration, and you see that across all of the nations actually, that there's a lot of families and histories that build the sport.
Mark's brother Rick also was the team manager for the Australian national team for many, many years. Now just recently moved across to boxing Australia, something different. And these sprinters, they go into these races with that kind of boxing mindset. They're not allowed to touch each other, but they certainly approach each of these races as if it's a fight.
It's shadow boxing on wheels. They can't touch each other too much or they will get in strife for that. But there's a lot of psychological preparation that goes into it as well as physical. And we can see that the commissaires are still reviewing, still having a chat. Richo just, he said, "I'm sorry," to the commissaires. He said, "I'm sorry, we won't do that again." Also having a word to Wang, "Come on, guys. Yes, it is within the limits of the regulations, but let's keep this clean and smart." Cameron Meyer just reapplying Richo's number. Went through a period where riders were sticking their numbers on with glue, but you do need to put them on with safety pins.
So there's the conversation with Christian Magiera, the president of the commissaire panel, just getting some clarification, because if the crash actually happened from physical contact, that's a different situation. And trying to, who can read lips?
Well, I was just thinking that it seems a bit accented. I can't really read lips unless they're... I could get Richo's before. All he said was, "I'm sorry." So I think he knows that that was a bit of a whoops. But both riders have incredible skills.
Well, Arwang coming back up to the bottom of the track, actually. So first position. So Arwang at the bottom, Richardson at the top, and we get to do this all again. Be interesting to see if Azazul tries the same tactic. I'm sure Richo will be ready for it this time.
So track stands are allowed, and a track stand is a standstill, what we did see, but there's only 2 that are permitted per race, and they can't last for more than 30 seconds. They do happen when you're trying to change position, where Arwang was trying to force Richardson to the front. There's no real reason that they happen other than that.
Take 2. Second race in the best of 3 semi-finals. This is the first heat. Yakovlev and Hoffman up next. This one is Arwang against Richardson. Matt Richardson, 1 up. Wins this, and he's going through to race for gold. I think from memory, the longest recorded track stand at a World Championships, 45 minutes.
Well, that's why they changed the rules. That messed with the schedule
the broadcast,
somewhat.
The director of the broadcast back then would have been so chuffed with that.
There's up to 2, up to 30 seconds per. We're not going to see another one in this race. Arwang, he's certainly riding very high up, shoulder to the fence, in control, choosing when the pace is going to accelerate. Oh, Richardson ducks underneath.
So Richardson's going to come to the bell first, and with that acceleration, there's no way Azazul's going to be able to come back, unfortunately. Such a fast acceleration, good tactics. Azazul just left the gate open, just ajar. And Richardson forced his way through, and he will go into the race for gold. Gold and silver up next. We'll see who it's going to be against, whether it's Yakovlev or Hoffman. But a convincing comeback from that little touchdown for Matty Richardson.
Yeah, that was a very clean ride. You take no chances after an incident like that. So he's comfortable. He's loving the home crowd. He's got a couple of special people in the crowd, which is fantastic.
So gap opened up a little bit, dived underneath. And once the actual sprint proper starts, the first rider to get below that red line, they claim that territory. And you're not allowed to infringe them once they are in there.
It was clever because when he dove down at full speed, Arwang had to change direction and actually lost speed at the same time as Richardson was gaining it. That made it very, very uneven competition just from that moment onwards.
You see Richo there as well, just changing his hand position from the acceleration. Once he sat down, put it up to get into a more of a tuck aero position. That's probably the thing that's changed the most in sprinting is the actual aero effect. It was always the endurance riders doing the aero, and then the sprinters now realising that they're hitting 75 k's an hour plus. might make sense to get a bit more aerodynamic.
And big frames, and that was the biggest celebration we've seen so far too.
So Lee Hoffman, must-win situation against Mikhail Yakovlev.
The two bigger framed sprinters in the competition, Lee Hoffman from Whyalla standing at 1.90 m, 1.99 for Mikhail Yakovlev.
190 is still tall.
190 is still tall. And 103 kilos Yakovlev's race weight is. He really is such a strong, big rider. When he is at top speed, he's very hard to come around. He doesn't mind leading from the front, and he's very strong in doing so. This track has made it a little bit trickier for some of the riders this week to come to maintain that from the front.
He's been consistently in the top 3 or top 4 fastest qualifiers at World Championships level, Yakovlev. Super quick, yet to get an outstanding performance in terms of podiums, other than being on the Keirin podium a couple of years ago. Wants to try and rectify that this year, perhaps in Shanghai. Yakovlev comes to the final lap in front, and the big man being hunted down by the next big man in Hoffman. The Whyalla wonder down the back straight. He's in the slipstream. There's plenty of it behind the man mountain that is Yakovlev. Hoffman up over the top, and he will get there. So we talk about tactics, and that's something you've got to be able to understand, how to work the track, how to use the slipstream, and Hoffman did that perfectly.
That was a beautiful ride from Hoffman. Really strong again, really used the banking to his advantage. They're both big frames, but you will notice that Hoffman is so aerodynamic. He is so tucked in, and Yakovlev is not quite as much. And you can see in the replay here, look how aerodynamic and tucked in Hoffman is to really get that slingshot effect off the back wheel. He pops around and really gets the most out of that run down the home straight. Actually wins convincingly in the end. No bike throw needed. They did, but it wasn't needed.
Mikhail needed to just change the pace a little bit. He basically did a flying lap time trial with Hoffman in the draft, just able to time his effort to come around.
They're both 25 years of age and both have incredible explosive speed. Hoffman in particular has had some incredible rides in team sprints with the unofficial fastest first lap in the world. Yakovlev has this incredible high speed that he can maintain and rides very big gears. They're both learning the craft of sprinting. They've got the physical attributes, they're fast enough, they're strong enough, but they're just really honing their skills, and it's quite a pleasure to watch them develop, and that's why sometimes these competitions are so tight. So they are one apiece. They will go to a decider to see who goes through to race against Maddie Richardson for the gold.
Well, they'll be racing for the decider coming up shortly. Hoffman and Yakovlev now one apiece in the men's sprint semi-final. He did, I would say it was a somewhat comfortable win, which of course it wasn't, but in terms of distance in a sprint it is.
His face doesn't look comfortable.
He still has, it's not a smile, it's been a grimace since he crossed the line.
It is hot conditions, fast track, but you can certainly see the riders are doing everything to cool themselves down between the rounds. A lot of fans, a lot of ice, slushy machines, cool towels to really make sure that they can stay warmed up but not overheating. And Birdie May, one of the long-standing incredible swan years for the Australian team, helping there.
One of the bigger set of Olympic rings in a tattoo that I have seen, which technically you're not allowed to actually have.
Well, I'm guilty. I've got some. Not that
he's not going to stop you. Yeah. But that's a big set of rings there, isn't it?
It is an honour, though. You know, it really is. I think to be world champion, to be an Olympian, these are the really big moments in the sport that you have to celebrate.
What a skyline here in Perth. And just off to the left is Kings Park, where the Australian National Road Championships were held in the first week of January this year. The Swan River, the Swan Brewery just down the road as well, which is not a brewery anymore, with the road race past that every lap. Now a set of apartments, but just a beautiful part of the world.
It is, and out to the west of that is the beautiful Indian Ocean. Out to the east is the beautiful Swan Valley. Wine, chocolate, everything you could need out there.
Great place to jump off from. Come into Perth. There's so much to do in Perth, but then you go down to the Margaret River, the Swan Valley, head up north for a stint. You can swim with the whale sharks and the dolphins. Women's Omnium tempo race is up next. So this is the second race within the 4-race discipline of the Omnium series. So 10 Ks for the tempo. The first 4 laps are with no points, and then after that, the first rider across the line every lap gets 1 point. If you are able to take a lap on the field, which does often happen in a tempo, you'll get 20 points and you'll go straight to the very top. Lose a lap, you'll go minus 20. It gets messy after a few laps, this, with riders going all in for 1 sprint point, and maybe if they miss it, then they explode, and then it all changes very, very quickly.
An advantage for those with analytical minds as well, because there is a scoreboard that they can see, but they do, to a degree, have to keep track of the points themselves. There's Anita Stenberg, the most experienced rider out there, and she certainly showed her tactical nous in that opening scratch race. So a couple of laps to get established before any points start getting earned.
First lap, neutral before we get underway. We'll hear the gun to fire it, and then they'll have a few laps just to settle in. It's also an opportunity for riders to go on the attack before the point per lap starts, and get an advantage. If they do get a big enough gap, then there's a chance really to hold on to it for multiple laps to get a big lead. And the women's tempo is underway, the second discipline within the 4-discipline Omnium event. Still have the elimination to come after this, but so important, not necessarily to win each of these events, but to make sure that you don't lose out too much and keep yourself up in the points.
Consistency goes a long way. You can either take a point at a time through sprints, or you can attack. Some riders attack and take a lap very quickly and take their 20 points and just try and conserve energy. Others will go out and purposefully take a little bit longer to try and gain that lap, earning points along the way, whichever you decide on. Each different rider will have a different balance to it. But we saw in the men's version of this event yesterday that there were only 5 riders who scored points in the entire race until that final sprint. So if you don't score any points during the race, your position and overall points for the event will be ranked based on how you've crossed the finish line, the order which you crossed the line at the end of this one.
They'll get the bell this time to signify those 1 point per lap sprints coming now from the next one time around. And it's Lizzie Wing from Hong Kong. Just wants to make sure she gets this point. And she's opening up a gap here, so if she has a quick look over the shoulder, you want to keep going here. Don't just think you've gone for 1 point. Keep on it. Yeah, she has too. Pressure stayed on the pedals, so that'll guarantee she gets another point. Smart riding.
It is smart. She's used the energy to get out there. She may as well capitalise on it as much as she can. Sevchikova, she swung up actually right on the start finishing line. So another point there for Shiwi Ling.
Acevedo is going to close this one down, though. She might be able to hold on for another point. Maybe not. No, she swings up. Starting to get a little bit tough out in front, but Yareli Acevedo comes through to pick up a point and then swings up. She's
the points race world champion. She likes long, hard races. It really suits her style. When they're too slow and they're really sprint-based, it's not really her jam. She'll take those points, but Stenberg is the next to gain a point and get her name on the board. 3 riders in the 4 points laps so far.
She's going to go on with it here. Uchino, though, sneak over the top to pick up the points. Advantageous if there is a gap to work together here against the rest. Uchino keeping the pressure on the pedals as well, so they are really strung out. That's put a few riders out of shot here, certainly in a bit of trouble.
And we also saw Rizeva from Uzbekistan, the 19-year-old. She just lost a lap, so she is still in the middle of the field, but she's a lap down, which is reflected on the scoreboard with a downward arrow, which we saw. Some gaps starting to open up. It is only about that first place across the line. Stenberg again, but a consistent group looking for the points. Shi Wing Lee also in that front group. Uchino from Japan leading through, a gold medal in the women's Madison last night. She will take the point on this lap.
So the peloton spread all the way around the track at the moment, but still only that 1 point to be had each time through. So far, they've been sharing it out the front, the three. So Stenberg with another point for her. That will have her equal points with Uchino. So both Uchino from Japan and Stenberg from Norway with 3 points each. And Lee Zi-wing is on 2 points.
Well, Lee Zi-wing in a bit of strife because she actually left a gap for Stenberg to come in. Stenberg missed that. There ended up being a much bigger gap. But in the meantime, that meant Acevedo could make her way back, which increases the size of the group. She's got Eva Anguilla from Spain, who's also managed to come in there. In strife is Alyssa Pilates and Ning Chen from China. They are back with Sevchikova.
So 24 laps to go. Another point going to Uchino. She looks comfortable. Lee Zi-wing, short turn of pace from her. So you group out in front, chase group, or the riders on the right-hand side there, they've already lost a lap. So this is where it's focusing. The gap is really opening up to the Alyssa Pilates-led group. Doesn't look like they're going to get many points out of this one.
Our group of 5 is doing a reasonable job of sharing the load and sharing those points, and that's what a good group working together does. If anybody tries to dominate too much, it really messes up the harmony of what is considered a breakaway. They're about half a lap up at this point on that chasing group led by Alyssa Pilates. You can't even see them come into shot there, but Stenberg is really making sure that the speed stays consistently high.
Well, narrowing down the contenders for the women's omnium. Stenberg again, big turn of pace from her, another point gained. So Uchino and Stenberg with the most number of points. We saw Anguilla also go through in first place to pick up a point for herself as well. She's down in 5th place for Spain.
And it's Uchino who takes the points again there.
So she's on 6, Stenberg on 5. Acevedo, a 24-year-old world champion in the points race. 1 point for her. A little bit more disorganised now as we're getting deeper into the race. They know everybody else is out of it. It's down to a race in 5.
And you can see the 5. This is our leaders here, but not too far behind that next group. So this 5 will gain a lap. They are the front of the race. They will get 20 points for the privilege of doing that. The other riders will go a lap down.
Well, there's a couple of riders in there that have gone minus 20 points for losing a couple of laps now. So Pilates, she'll also be docked for that as well. So the riders that were caught all being minus 20 points now. And it's Sevchikova with minus 19 is the highest placed of them, down in 6th place.
Uchino's starting to take a few more points ahead of Stenberg here. Not necessarily because there's no sprints happening so much as bunch positioning. Uchino here leading through. She'll get another point. Stenberg sitting in 2nd. But gaining... Stenberg is smart here. She took the win in the first race. She can afford to save a bit of energy and just make sure she is in that top 2 in the tempo race to continue into the 3rd event, which is the elimination, and then they finish on the points race. So it's not just about the strategy of the single race, it's also about the overall strategy for all 4 events. Alyssa Pilates leads through for Team Australia, and she will pick up a point.
Yes, but unfortunately minus 20. Now she goes to minus 19 with that 1 point. Has her in 7th place. Look, the points they're gaining throughout this race are irrelevant. It's all about trying to contest in the event to get the 40 points to win each of the disciplines. 38 for 2nd, 36 for 3rd. So you still finish 4th or 5th. You'll get the 4th or 5th place points overall. And First time we've seen a real solo attack off the front, and this is Yareli Acevedo from Mexico. Hasn't picked up too many points.
She's points race world champion, and she does like to take laps, and she does like to assert her dominance in these moments. But Uchino clearly on top thus far in terms of the individual points. But Acevedo is making the mark for herself.
And there's another point for her as well. So she goes to 7. So it's Uchino on 8 and Acevedo on 7. Stenberg on 5. First time we've seen them bunch up for a little while now. Pace has come off a little bit.
Well, they're coming around to get 9 laps.
Point for Sevchikova, 24-year-old. She rides for the Dukla women's team on the road.
And Stenberg came in with the win. It was Sevchikova who was second in the scratch race, the opening scratch race. She is now a lap down. Acevedo, who's sitting in second place in this race so far, she was 9th in the scratch race. So this is really playing comfortably into the hands of Stenberg. Uchino was 5th in the opening scratch race. She is leading this race at the moment on 8 points.
Alyssa Pilates with 1 point, and the 3 riders that have gone off the front were the 3 riders we saw losing a lap and getting docked 20 points earlier on. So they're looking strong here, but that's not how it was a little bit earlier in the race as they come around to get 6 laps to go.
If they can regain this lap and right the wrong, it will change the situation of the race, but not that much, because they're not getting the points that they earn. Again, they only get the points for where they finish overall. So Pilates sitting in 7th, Sevchikova sitting in 6th, and Ning Chen is currently sitting in 8th position.
3 riders have been taken out of the race. Too many laps behind, so they lost 2 laps, and then you're eliminated. So 3 riders off the front. They are sharing the points each time. They come around to get 5 laps to go. 1 point again going to Petra Sevchikova from Czechia. Stenberg just wobbling the shoulders a little bit, indicating that she does want to try and close this down. She sits in 3rd place now after winning the scratch race. So she still will get handy points. If it stays like this, she'll get 36 points. Uchino will get 40 though. So it's still worth trying to bring this group back to have a chance to pick up some points in these last couple of laps at 3 to go.
Certainly working in the favour of the 3 out the front at the moment, because even though they are a lap down, they are taking the point on each lap. And Pilates will pick up another point.
If they stay out there, it's not going to change anything for the top 5. Because they are, no one's on the same points. It won't matter where they finish in the last sprint either.
They don't have a lot of imperative to ride there.
Uchino certainly doesn't, because she's going to win this if it stays as it is, which it will now, because it's only 1 lap to go. So the 1 point for this final lap will be taken from one of these 3. It looks like Petra Sevchikova might be able to hold on. Chen Ning, the 24-year-old from China, in 2nd position, trying to come up over the top though to pick up the final point, and she will get there. So that's 1 point for the rider that is placed in 8th place overall. What it means though, no change at the top. Uchino wins the tempo race. Acevedo 2nd, Stenberg 3rd. So they are the top points haulers, 40, 38 and 36 points respectively. And we'll see how the dust settles in the overall points now as we go into the elimination race next. But Uchino, job done. Good result for her, winning the tempo.
And she will move up the standings after starting the event in 5th. Good for Stenberg, consistent. 3rd in that event, 1st in the scratch race. It is all about consistency. Acevedo, she's the biggest mover in that. She was 9th in the scratch race.
So there's the confirmation of the points. A little bit messy at the end with those 3 riders that were well down the standings, dominating the closing laps. But Uchino with the maximum. She'll pick up 40 points for the general classification, with Acevedo picking up 38. Should mean that Stenberg is still in the overall lead as they go into the elimination, which will be up next. There it is, confirmation, 4-point lead that she'll have going into that elimination. Uchino on 72 and Li Wing only 2 points further back. Sevchikova, despite losing the lap in that race, still sits in 4th place, and she'll have a chance to try and get further back up the standings in these next 2 races to come. Elimination and points race, and so much can change in the final points race. So these three really did dominate the tempo race. Uchino, good riding. Stenberg showing, as always, great consistency. The oldest in the field at 33.
And she's a very consistent international performer in this event.
That's pretty young, 33, considering Roger Kluger is 40 in the men's race.
Yeah, I mean, by no means anymore is age for the athletes as it used to be. They are racing longer. Arwang, he's 38 years of age, so we've got a number of competitors that are very experienced.
McCaig's, Alicia McCaig's family, just in the stands here. And now back to the men's sprint semi-finals. The do or die. This is the decider now in the men's sprint. Mikhail Yakovlev up against Lee Hoffman. Israel versus Australia. Hoffman, born in Whyalla, just north of Adelaide. And Yakovlev, born in Moscow, actually, and then switched to Israel.
And he's known for his incredible sprint qualifying. He's very strong, very powerful rider. Hoffman known for his incredible explosive acceleration from a standing start. Their talents overlap beautifully on a Venn diagram, but if you are from a slower start, it's Hoffman who has the advantage. Higher speed, it is Yakovlev who has a little bit more of an advantage, so strategy comes into play.
Hoffman, the bronze medalist at the World Champs last year, has changed his focus from the starter of the Australian team sprint team, with Matthew Richardson switching to Great Britain. They needed the next best sprinter to step up into a different position. Hoffman has been able to do that, picked up individual medals in the sprint competitions at the World Championships last year, but he does have a wrist injury, so he didn't ride the team sprint here in Perth, just to try and protect that wrist from those massive power starts they do in the team sprint. So far, doesn't seem to be too affected by it. Yakovlev trying to control the race from the front. Hoffman drifts down underneath, goes into position number 1 and starts the acceleration quickly. I feel that Yakovlev thought he was just going to float to the front and didn't really want to go for it. Hoffman sensed the opportunity was there, and bang, Hoffman is on his way. He's going to be racing for gold and silver up against his old teammate in Matthew Richardson, because you can put this one in the book. Hoffman wins the decider race in the men's semi-final of the sprints.
What
Wow.
a beautiful, clean, powerful ride from Hoffman. And it just shows psychologically he's taking absolutely no chances. He knows what he's good at, and he just went out there and made the most of it. The Aussie team are happy with that. And a great ride. After the last ride, we saw him come off and look quite hot and bothered. You know, certainly he's not just riding it in, but 2-1 for Hoffman over Yakovlev. He'll progress through to race his former teammate Matthew Richardson for the gold. They've raced many a time between them.
So just as he drifts down underneath here, I feel that Yakovlev just thought, okay, he wants the first position, that's fine. But no, Hoffman absolutely booted it. Full pressure through the pedals, opened up a big gap. And I think Mikhail realised pretty quickly he'd made a mistake. A bit of a blunder there, letting Hoffy go so quickly. The only downside was he did push it all the way to the finish. There would have been coaching staff and Aussie team staff around the track screaming at him just to kick the clutch in and cruise to the line to save some energy. But he wasn't sure exactly where Yakovlev was on the track.
No, sensational ride, and he did exactly what plays to his strength, because he did get to accelerate from a lower speed, which is where he has a clear advantage over Yakovlev. So there we have it.
Confirmation, race for gold, the former teammates, Matthew Richardson and Lee Hoffman. And it'll be Azizul Arwang, the keirin champ from last night, up against Mikhail Yakovlev. So the shortest in the sprint versus the tallest, and the two former teammates. They'll be racing for gold and silver. Fascinating matchups.
And the men's Madison coming out on track now. We've got a wonderful set of teams. And here they are, the men's Madison. We've got 9 teams on track. The Australian team are wearing the #1 bib. A big crowd cheering for all of the countries. The crowd have been wonderful this week, Scott, supporting everybody and anybody.
Just to prove that Australia and Austria are 2 different places, for those that do sometimes get that confused. Apparently there is a desk at Vienna Airport for those people that have flown to Austria thinking they were coming to Australia, just to reroute them. Maybe urban legend that. Germany's going to be a challenging one. We saw Moritz Augenstein have a sensational win in the men's elimination on the first day here in Perth. He is the world scratch race champion as well. And he was to be partnered with Roger Kluge at a recent 2-day Madison event in Berlin a few weeks ago that I was commentating on. And Moritz actually was ill, was unable to start that. So Kluge had a replacement rider. They didn't do quite as well as they were expecting. So clearly, Moritz is back up and going with no problems. Japan will be challenging. They are a very, very handy team. Imamura was at the Olympic Games in Paris for Japan. They finished in 6th place, but it wasn't with Uezawa. So a different partner for him as well.
There's Liam Walsh riding for Team Australia with Conor Leahy, one of the hometown favourites.
He was just practicing his hooks for the sprints. Don't try and come past Liam.
Just warming up the tyres. He's been watching the Formula One. He's from Queensland. There is the team from Malaysia.
The sharpening their elbows.
Indonesia was the team we were just looking at. Team Austria come here with Rafael Kokas and Maximilian Schmidbauer, who was sensational in the Omnium yesterday. Some aggressive moves, even into the dying laps in the points race.
Well, not too long till we get the start of the men's Madison underway.
And 200 laps, 50 kilometres. 20 sprints every 10 laps.
Conor Leahy, big Western Australian, 4 in a row Australian individual pursuit champion. So his partner on the other side of the track, Liam Walsh. And we know with Conor's pedigree in time trials, team pursuits and individual pursuits, he really does want to put a lot more effort. So if you look at his partner, Liam Walsh, put more effort into these bunch races. He was 6th at the World Championships in the points race last year in Santiago, Chile. And Liam, that's what he is a bunch race specialist. Very, very good on the road. Picked up a couple of good wins in road races in Asia last year. European champion, Roger Kluge, 3-time world Madison champion. Just ticked over 40 years of age and still focusing. And there's Moritz Augenstein, his European champion teammate. Kluge has already signaled that he wants to be there in Los Angeles 2028. Men's Madison almost underway. Partners on the back straight, and they'll be released once they come through after this first opening lap. And we are underway. So 200 laps, sprint every 10 for points, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Double points on the final sprint, 10, 6, 4 and 2. Take a lap on the field, you'll get 20 points. And this is the most hectic race that we do have on the velodrome. I love it.
They're very technical. The pairing, it's not just about getting to individuals who are strong and technically sound as individuals. They need to be able to ride together. And Scott, some pairings will have riders who are very similar in size, but other pairings, you don't have that. You might not have that opportunity, some countries, to have the same framed riders, and they do need to have a lot of practice to make sure that they are changing in a safe and clean way. And also it's about speed efficiency. It's not just about changing, because technically they can actually just touch each other, but those slings can make a really big difference.
Good look there at the change from Japan, Imamura and Umezawa. Good results from Imamura in the Omnium.
Oh, he was sensational, wasn't he?
He's been handy in the Madisons as well. And they've got a couple of riders that they switch in and out, as the Aussies do also. But the Japanese have really got some depth now in their track endurance program. Towards the back there, the European champions, as Augenstein throws Roger Kluger in.
And they're certainly the favourites on paper, just the sheer experience. European champions, Kluger, three-time Madison world champion in the past, 40 years of age.
Approaching the first of our intermediate sprints in the men's Madison here in Perth, UCI Track World Cup, 194 laps down, sprinting every 10 for points which are 5, 3, 2 and 1 across the line. Double points on the last. And you can see the urgency in the bunch as we're approaching 192, so the bell next time around for our first of the intermediate sprints. European champs in good position, the Germans. Augenstein in second position, Checha lead. Look out for Austria, they are pretty good. It's a young team, but they're actually well credentialed. Liam Walsh comes in for the Aussies. It's Augenstein in second position. Czechia about to make a change. And off the change, should be able to accelerate up to full speed and pick up the 5 points here. Walsh trying to squeeze through on the inside, but Czechia, Germany, Australia, Austria. They are the first points awarded from the first sprint.
You have to play the long game. We saw in the women's Madison last night, it looked to be all over, but Mexico, with 20 laps to go, through a real cat amongst the pigeons, made their way onto the podium and very nearly snatched the silver medal, not just the bronze.
Well, then in that particular sprint, Moritz Augenstein from Germany, during a change, you can see the difference in the speed when the change is made. And there's a real deceleration before you get up to full speed again. And I feel that Augenstein, during the change, could have gone over the top of Czechia and gone for the 5 points, but I felt like he was very, very cautious about just saving energy. He was going to get 3 points for second anyway. Conserve some energy where you can, because this race does get super tough.
And they're a really interesting pairing, because Kluger with the experience, and you can see the way he races that he just knows how to read it. But Augenstein, he's had some great results. He has a gold medal here on the first evening in the elimination, and very excitable new rider at this top level. He's been around for a few years, but now he's starting to really get the opportunity. So there's a little bit of a mismatch in terms of their race experience in a Madison, but when they come together and both shine, they certainly have a lot to offer. But he'll be leaning on Kluger to teach him. Well,
it's interesting at 28 that he's inexperienced at this level, because look, he came out to Bendigo in Australia years ago to ride the Bendigo Madison, so he has been around for a long time, just hasn't made it into that national team. Very successful last year, scratch race world champion, and he won the elimination here at the World Cup. Absolute favourites here in the Madison for the men as well to take gold, European Championship as well. So a late bloomer, Augenstein, and Kluger, his teammate, drifts to the front. So just a reminder, that is the colours of the European champions, but they are a German pairing. And Connor Leahy, awkward change there with Liam Walsh in third position. Next sprint, not too far away. They'll come around to get the bell this time. Augenstein on the front, the man we've been talking about. Scratch race world champ. It's going to be a long sprint for him. So the Germans did make the change really early in this sprint. Czechia this time in second position, so reverse placings from the first sprint. Look over the shoulder from Connor Leahy in third. Austria fourth, trying to come up to get over the top of the Aussies. But Germany, Czechia, Australia and Austria, same four from the first sprint. Slightly different order. Slightly different order,
but you can see that those teams are watching each other. Schmidbauer and Kokas, both of them individually have performed well, both in the elimination for Kokas, and Schmidbauer was sensational in the Omnium, especially in the points race.
Well, that combination were the European under-23 Madison champions in 2024. Kokas also won the year before, but with Tim Waffler. So they do have good Madison experience, even though it's under 23 level. That's still a good level in Europe.
I mean, and Austria's got a huge history in the Madison event. For decades, they have produced wonderful teams with some very exciting racing, especially in the early 2000s. So they've also got really great mentors as well.
Well, the Sydney Olympic Madison that I was in with a lap and a quarter to go, there was a crash, and it was the Austrians that were famously involved in that.
Well, you won with Team Australia, but...
we stayed upright.
Yeah, that crash nearly brought that undone.
Bit of pace being put on here by Connor Leahy. Home crowds, he also needs to temper that a little bit. It's so easy to get hyped up and try and put on a big show for the home crowd, but at this level you need to be smart as well. Save energy where you can, attack when it's at the best opportunity.
You'll notice some bandages on his right side. He came down quite heavily in the first race in the Omnium. He comes from a background more of teams pursuing as one of the Olympic champions for Australia, but also individual pursuing, 5-time national champion. But he does want to turn his attention to the bunch racing, and that is what he's doing here. Liam Walsh is an excellent road rider and track rider. He's very handy in the sprint, so they're a very good combination because Leahy loves to go solo. Walsh loves to come in for the sprints. They're sitting in third at the moment. Czechia leading, Koblazek and Krenek. Kluger and Orgenstein from Germany sitting in second.
Big move, though, coming over the top. 1:72 to go. The next sprint's about to happen. China with Australia on the wheel. So this is going to be a really fast sprint as they prepare for this one. Liu Ning and Wu Zhenji. So change made as they come into the next of the sprints. Australia will be up in the points again, as will Germany. Augenstein coming over the top of Liam Walsh. Czechia once again in the points. China might hold on for 5, but Augenstein, the scratch race world champ, did not get there. So 3 points for the Germans.
No, and...
good move from China.
Yeah, great move from China. I am noticing with Augenstein, he's very close, but not quite rolling over the top. And a missed change from Team Australia, a bit of inexperience. Oh, and Liam Walsh not happy with that either, not just missing the change, but also then gesticulating. Lay nearly taken out by Augenstein, so that also impeded Team Germany. It's bound to happen. Happening once, that's okay. If it keeps happening, that'll cause a fair bit of strife for
Fool
the
me
Australians.
Once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Yeah, well, that hurts the legs for Liam Walsh, and perhaps the reason that he was unable to finish that sprint off, but they are okay. Connor Leahy is now in.
So they're changing every about 3 laps. That's a lot of changes. You know, 80 changes within the race, or 70 changes within the race, depending on how frequently and how fast the race is going. And so how frequently they change, it depends not only how fast the bunch is racing, but also how fast and or slow the second rider is rolling around the top of the track. So, Scott, to have 1 or 2 bad changes amongst 70, it's a low percentage.
You hope that it's at a quiet moment and that it won't make much effect. But if it's
unfortunately, that was
not
quiet.
An early sprint, so they wouldn't be too fatigued, but still okay. Look, when I was doing the Madisons, it was you're trying to go around 2.5 laps or so between changes, but we were riding smaller gears. The average speeds are a lot higher now, bigger gears, so it's harder to accelerate back into the race, putting all that extra pressure on your legs. So it's also really important for the riders that are out of the race recovering to know how to use the track, use the banking to get the acceleration to come back down for the change without having to use too much muscle power and just wasted energy.
It really is organised chaos at its most thrilling, Madison.
Have you watched the Winter Olympics and the short track speed skating relay? Very similar to this.
Yeah, also organised chaos.
Change for Germany. Another sprint coming. 1:61 to go, bell will sound. Augenstein on the front, Japan, good change for them. Changed a little bit closer, and off the back of that change, slingshot over the top of Germany. Austria will pick up points. Indonesia will be in the points this time if they can get the change done, and they were able to. So Japan, Austria, Germany, and Indonesia with the 1 point.
Umezawa for Japan taking the points there, the 5, and their first points of the race as well. Not bad when you haven't been on the board for your first points to be the 5. It's efficient riding. So there we have it. Japan, Austria with the 3, Germany with the 2, Indonesia on the board as well now with 1 point. Germany, the only team to have featured in all 4 of the first sprints.
And that's experience, isn't it?
It is, because it's consistency. You don't need to win every sprint, but you just consistently tick away and it builds the volume, and you can certainly see that by the leaderboard.
Australia make the change on the front. No chance of missing it when it's that obvious.
A nice clean one too, which will help their confidence.
So only 2 teams to not score points so far, Hong Kong and Chinese Taipei. Good to see Indonesia up there, looking really comfortable, actually. I was impressed with them in their team pursuit. Not a super quick time, but technically they looked pretty good the other day, first day of competition. So they are also developing, perhaps bolstered by how good Malaysia have grown over the last 10 to 15 years.
Well, the Asian nations have really been building. I mean, we've seen on show this week Japan and China, but we've got such strong contingents from Malaysia, of course, Azizul Awang shining there, but Chinese Taipei have been really consistent, as have Hong Kong, China. And they're working hard to make sure they're qualifying through these World Cup events. This is the first of 3 for the World Championships and then also for the Olympic Games. And it's wonderful for the sport across the Asian region.
And a lot of international coaches have been taken to those countries. Hong Kong in the light blue in 3rd position now at the bottom of the track. They have Ben Kirsten running their road program now, former Commonwealth Games gold medalist. And on the track, Anthony Peden, bronze medalist at the World Championships in the Keirin, been running their sprint program as well. And an attack here from Austria as we get closer to the next of our sprints. This is the highest average speed bunch race on the velodrome with this relay effect that we're seeing with the hand slings. 1:51 to go. Austria it is, Australia 2nd, Germany. Then it's Indonesia again, about to pick up some points. Right on cue, we talked them up. They're looking good, riding well. They'll finish 4th in this one. And it's Austria with the 5. European under-23 champions from 2024 up against the big boys from the European Championship. Germany, 3rd across the line for them.
Connor Lade doing the sprint for Team Australia. They took the 3 points, sitting in 3rd overall. Team Austria just really consistent as well. That's now the 4th sprint of 5 that they have featured in. And you can see both Team Austria and Australia changing at the same time, but Austria a bit more efficient and quick, and that a gap opened up quite significantly just in that 2 seconds that change happened. That's what you were talking about with how you can really wipe off or increase speed depending on your style.
And when you see, we saw the front-on shot there with multiple teams changing. All the ones behind have to go 6, 7 wide to go around the outside, wasting a lot of distance. So important to be right near the front when those sprints are coming up. And even if you're just waiting to attack later on, you think you might be sneaking at the back there, saving energy as the Germans make another change. If those gaps open up in the peloton, you end up finding yourself just chasing gaps and wasting energy, and it nullifies, you know, the saving that you're trying to make to do late attacks. If that makes sense.
It does. A quarter of the way into the race, Team Germany have featured in all of the sprints, the only ones to do so. The last 2 sprints, Royan and Yuda Kasuma from Indonesia have started just chipping away. Just 1 point, 4th spot in the last 2 sprints, but a consistent move with their positioning. Team China, only 1 sprint they've been involved in, but they won it.
So this being one of the most difficult endurance races on the track, but this has become a bit of a sprint fest. And these pauses that they're having between each of these sprints, giving the riders a little bit of extra recovery. Fatigue won't set in as early as perhaps it normally would be. Big, wide swoop there from Roger Kluge from Germany.
He's just getting around the mess. He's just making sure that they're not getting caught up with anything. And with 2 laps until the points are on offer, he's putting himself and Team Germany in the perfect position to make a change. Augenstein, there he is, coming into shot, changing at the front and throwing in as they get the bell.
250-metre sprint there for Augenstein. Chetja second. Late change from Australia. Quick look over the shoulder from Connor Leahy just to see who's behind. You'll see Japan. They'll be 4th here. Good solid sprint. Good preparation work done from Roger Kluger to set Moritz up to comfortably win that one. And immediately after these sprints is the best opportunity to attack. Little acceleration from Czechia, but to no avail. Short-lived. And the first time really after a sprint that we've seen some gaps at the back of the field. We were talking up Indonesia. They're right at the very top in the red and the white helmet. So just starting to get a little bit cooked.
Fortunes can change very quickly, and you really need to pay attention to the wheel in front of you, because once a gap opens and you have to start going around, the fatigue just does not support that. You can see Liam Walsh, he's tucked right in, really making sure that that gap comes back, puts Team Australia in a good position. Walsh, 24 years of age, from Balmoral in Queensland, the closest club to the Animes Olympic Velodrome. So ahead of 2032, there's a lot of young riders who are watching Liam Walsh tonight and thinking, that could be me.
They make the change on the front. Connor Leahy comes back in. Then it's Schmidbauer from Austria. Drifting up and down the track, though, as Adam Krenek does the same. And then a real solid attack from China underneath. This is what I've been waiting for. There's too many teams in this race to just make it a sprint festival. We need some laps taken. 20 points to be had if you can get around and take a lap. But there's also those intermediate sprints on the way. 1:34 to go, and this is the most significant attack we've seen so far.
Wu and Lu from Team China, they did win the 3rd sprint, otherwise they haven't featured. They timed it perfectly, and it's a big gap that's opened up. You can see almost half a lap. Nobody particularly wanting to take responsibility to put the pace on. As they come through the start-finish line, you'll see come into shot shortly Team Germany. They're not sitting around and waiting, and there he is, the big man, the 3-time world Madison champion, Roger Kluger. He says, not on my watch, Team China.
Well, they will pick up the points on this one at 1:31 to go. But Kluger experienced enough to not let a team like China gain the points for a lap taken. 5 points for this sprint plus a lap gain. There's 25. They'll go straight to the very top. So the Germans are hunting them down. That's caused some frenetic chasing behind. Look at the Japanese team now, desperately. We haven't seen too much from them. So Japan trying to get themselves out there as well. They don't want to miss out on this one.
Well, Imamura has been really impressive this week, so Team Japan is certainly not going to sit back and wait for it to happen. Kluger shuts it down. There will be no 20 points for Team China. Team Japan hot on their heels. Team Australia, they're paying attention, and it's the Austrians hot on the heels as well. Schmidbauer and Kokas, both strong in their individual rights, doing a great job as a team here. And we're forming a group of 5 at the front here.
Well, watch the Austrians, because they've been sitting on the wheel of the Aussies while this chase has been happening. And you see there, Australia, Liam Walsh swung up, and Kokas just followed him up as well. Although he's opened up a little bit of a gap there, so maybe he's tired. But I was just thinking the Austrians have had a pretty easy run here while everyone else has been scrambling ahead of them. So if they do have the legs, they might have just saved a little bit of energy while that was all happening. They can attack. 1:26 to go.
Some of the teams will want to wait around a bit more for the sprints. Others, as we just saw with Team China, they look pretty determined to really hit in those difficult moments. The Austrian team have some good options because Kokas is quite fast. Schmidbauer, he showed us last night in the Omnium that he doesn't mind attacking again and again. But with 124 laps still to go, not even at the halfway point yet. Roger Kluger accelerating from the front out of the seat. That's almost just exerting his dominance.
Now a bit of pressure. I mentioned, watch out for the Austrians. I felt that they had the best advantage during that scramble before, but not a big attack from them.
Team Australia, cleaner change there. They're starting to get comfortable. But interesting, a movement up the track. Team Germany didn't want to take over. And Team Australia lead in to the bell lap. But Augenstein is starting to make his move, not leaving it too late. He's missed out on the 5 a number of times. He takes the 5 easily there ahead of Team Australia. Team Japan in 3rd, but Austria in 4th. And Scott, they're determined to hurt some legs. They're just keeping the speed straight up after that sprint.
Schmidbauer it was, but Augenstein, the German, later changed than the Aussies. So Walsh was on the front a little bit earlier, approaching that final sprint. Kluger, imagine the big levers that he has, along with Augenstein, because Moritz is quite tall as well.
Part by their helmet colour. So Kluger has a red helmet. Augenstein is wearing the white helmet. They also have, one rider will have a red number and one will have a black number. But often, if you're playing along at home, helmet colour is an easier identifier.
So Chinese Taipei, unfortunately, losing a lap, being docked 20 points for that. And Indonesia and Hong Kong are not too far from doing likewise, actually. So they are just one straight ahead of this group, coming back towards them. So there has been a real selection, hasn't there? Chinese Taipei at the back, they are minus 20. And the top 5 teams, top 6 teams have really clustered together. Germany leading the way though. Dominant performance so far, 28 points for them, 14 points for Australia. Only 1 point further back to Czechia. Austria on 11, China on 10.
Germany, the only country, the only team to have figured in every sprint. They've won 3 of them. Not about winning every sprint, but certainly the consistency builds up with so many after 200 laps and 20 sprints.
Another move from China. Successful sprint a couple of sprints ago for them. Attack that picked them up to 5 points. And they'll start to shuffle now and look for their partners. 1:12 to go, Bell, next time around. You'll often see the riders in the race look across the track just to see where their partners are. And they'll get the bell this time. Czechia leads. Australia, late change there. Augenstein comes in again off Roger Kluger. Liam Walsh, change for him into 2nd position. Look over the shoulder just to see who's there. Who do I have to try and fend off? Well, it's the European champion. So Liam Walsh kicks it a little bit more over the top of Czechia. 5 points to Australia, 3 points to Germany. So they're not really closing the margin too much to the gold medalists at the moment, but they do open up a little bit over Czechia.
That was a smart sprint from Walsh, because he did look to make sure he didn't get caught unawares, which is also a mechanism to not use more energy than he needs to. It's not just about winning the sprint or trying to win the sprint. It's also about making sure you don't use too much energy along the way. Germany consistent, still featuring in every sprint so far. And as we approach the halfway mark, sometimes the strategies will change from quite an offensive strategy to a bit more defensive. And certainly for Team Czechia, they might start to think, well, really, we're not coming close to Germany, but we are coming close to that silver medal. So they might make it more about targeting the Australian team. We'll see that start to really play out in the second half of the race.
Closing down on the first half, 1:06 to go. Started with 200 laps. Double points, of course, on that final sprint. Often changes the outcome. After all of the races and all the sprints and the lap gains that happen in this event, So often it comes down to that very last double point sprint. That's something that Augenstein and Kluger are hoping won't be the case, because they're starting to get a really handy buffer now out in front. Still haven't missed a sprint point, have they? They've been in every single sprint.
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive so far. And they haven't been so dominant in always being the ones forcing the pace or closing the brakes. They've just consistently been following the right wheels. And certainly Roger Kluger, when Team China tried audaciously to take that lap, that is when he did exert some dominance.
Aussie's drifting off the back a little bit there. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong there. Shouldn't be a problem for Connor to come back on. And it's Kluger that's starting to wind things up again for the next sprint. So a lot of time spent on the front here, but it's working so well for them. And he's also such a powerful guy. So really early making the change. And perhaps Augenstein would have been better off trying to go a little bit faster when he's out of the race, so they can do that change further around that final lap. But it's not going to make any difference, because he's got the power and the speed to come away with the 5 points. Germany, Austria, then it's Czechia and Japan. And the Aussies have drifted once again off the back here.
They're in a bit of trouble there, just off the back of the camera shot. So what Team Germany did there, it wasn't just about getting the 5 points. It was also about inflicting a little bit of harm on the teams that were struggling a bit at the back.
Well, just over halfway, still a lot of racing come. So 98 laps to go. And it's Czechia starting to stretch the field a little bit. Kluger from Germany, the European champ, he's up to that task. We'll start keeping a little bit of an eye on the Aussies. You see them at the back there just swinging up. They're in second place still, but only 2 points ahead of Czechia. But just the last couple of laps showed some worrying signs of just where they sit in this race at the moment. So keep an eye on them, see if they are fatiguing. Certainly not, though, the European champions. Augenstein and Kluger looking very strong. Czechia starting to pick up some points now in third place. Austria starting likewise to do the same.
And we can't always assume when gap open up that it's fatigue related. It could be related to a technical error with changes. We've seen that happen a number of occasions. It can also just be timing and an acceleration in front that you don't want to panic, so you know I will be able to bring that back. But in such a long race, every time you have to undo a gap that's opened up in front of you, it just does take energy. And at the end of 200 laps and at this level, that all does add up. It all does really cost you. And that's where experience comes into. The speed wiped off a bit, all of the teams just happy and content at the moment to change, throw their partners in and take a bit of a breather. For Team Germany in the second half now, and with such a lead, they can start to settle in and really just make sure they're monitoring the race. And Roger Kluger, he really is the police lieutenant out there. Any move, and he's the one that makes the next.
Just shutting down the move from Indonesia and then going on with it. So another sprint coming. Every time Kluger comes to the front, you know that there's going to be a bell sound, because here it is. Augenstein once again off the front of the peloton, hunting down the 5 points. Guaranteed points for Austria. Kokas in second position. Head on a swivel to make sure no one's coming over the top. He'll be happy with the 3 points. Czechia, then it's Indonesia with 1. And the Australians, no points for them, but at least they're still in the bunch. They weren't like that the last time they went through the sprints.
And Team Germany just consistently applying the pace, making sure that nobody does get too much rest. Not necessarily about attacking and seeking those laps. And Team China, they were audacious earlier, took a sprint win on the 7th sprint, nearly took a lap. Team Germany shut them down, and Kluger on the front again, not letting China get too far. But it is starting to emerge what China's tactics are. They're not participating in the bunch sprint so much, but they're going solo to get their 5. Still 7 laps to a sprint, so they're They've gone early.
Good move from Wu Junji. We've seen him already the last couple of days. Very competitive in the bunch races. So a little bit more development from them. We haven't seen a Chinese team really competitive at the highest level in a Madison, because it does come down to so much experience. But they are showing some great potential. $85 laps left to race in the men's Madison here in Perth at the UCI Track World Cup. And it is being dominated by the blue and white colours of the European champions from Germany. Maurits Augenstein with the white helmet there, about to make his change with the big man, Roger Kluger. 41 points, second place Australia, but they haven't scored points for the last couple of sprints, the Aussies. They are tied with 19 and Czechia. Austria, 1 point further behind them. So super tight between second, third and fourth. The Germans are in control.
Nearly 120 laps in so far. Germany have featured in every sprint. Very impressive and consistent ride. Australia, Czechia and Austria are also close. They've all had their moments. They've had a few missed changes. They've had a few sprint wins. And you get a bit of argy-bargy between Liam Walsh for Team Australia and Kokas for Team Austria. But a clean change from Team Australia. Lay goes in. Hot pursuit of Team Germany. Augenstein leading.
We can lock in first and second here. Connor Leahy might come over. He will. So 5 points will go to Australia. Little cheer from the crowd here in Perth for the Western Australian that's off the front of the race. So he's looking strong, Connor Leahy. Maurits Augenstein up to the task. Japan coming across as well. And they'll benefit from a change to finish that gap. And top three teams now all making their changes. Czechia also coming back in. Austria. So it's all the top teams. Japan sit in fifth place down on 13 points. But they're just not getting the timing right in these sprints. And there you go. That's how you do it. The sling. Hands down low, push down and extend as much as you can.
Aided by the fact that both of them are very long-limbed, Augenstein and Kluger. And I'm very impressed with Connor Leahy here. He is benefiting that Germany doesn't quite have the same urgency because they are leading so much. So you can see Augenstein, he was consistent with his speed, but he knew that Leahy was coming and he didn't accelerate any further. Good from the Australians to push for those extra points to take the win, because that has made the difference. They're a little bit clear now of Austria and Czechia. This is a really critical time in the race where if you're not quite conscious about following the right wheels and making sure no gaps open, the wheels can really fall off in the race. So 75 left to go. Absolutely all open at this stage from the silver medal down. Team Germany just need to keep doing what they have been doing. They've figured in every sprint so far. The most experienced team on the track for sure. We've got some new pairings from the other countries. But the Austrian team have been the European under-23 Madison champions. And there they are coming to the front. They know that they need to start figuring in the sprints again.
Another attack from China. They don't mind going off the front. Only a couple of laps to the next sprint as well. Austria, they haven't got the big gap though, because the Austrians were just there. Although thank you to Austria, they've drifted up and made Roger Kluger the man to continue the chase. He's done it every time anyone's tried to go off the front. And again, it's that same rider as well. So Wu Junji showing really strong signs here. We look for his teammate. He's about to make the change. So this is perfect for the Chinese. Off the change, hoping to try and keep the speed on. Kluger doesn't desperately need to pick up the 5 points. Japan might want them though. They won't get there though. So China pick up the 5, Japan the 3, Kluger 2 points for them. Any points at all for Germany. And they just continue to open up that lead. 46 points now.
Well, China have only figured in 3 sprints of the 13, but they've been 3 wins. So that's worked very well for them. They're sitting in 6th spot, but you'll notice, look at the points, and he was lucky. Japan was coming quick there, but China kind of making their own luck in this race. They're sitting in 6th, but they're not very far off 3rd. Only 4 points, 19 to 15 from Austria and Czechia back to China.
And just looking back at that replay, we noticed the first 2 riders across the line, both sprinting with their hands up on top of the hoods, we'll call them. Showing my age and my disgust in this modern trend. But anyway, so the pace has come off. China lurking. They like that tactic. It's worked for them 3 times. Attack 2 laps from a sprint, pick up the 5 points, go back into the field. And Roger Kluge, the world champion, or 3 times world Madison champion. The last time was in Copenhagen, 2024, riding alongside Tim Teutenberg and the famous German Teutenberg family. Tim's sister is also a professional at the moment. Tim's riding with the Lidl Trek team. His father was a professional cyclist. His uncle was a professional cyclist, finished 4th in a couple of stages of the Tour de France. Sven, and Auntie Ina was the best all-round sprinter on the road of her generation. Pretty easy to see why Tim Teutenberg got into cycling, with the inspiration within the family. And look, even myself, when I was a kid, the age of 9, I just followed my big brother Kevin into cycling for a couple of years. He eventually chucked it in, and I was too ignorant to understand why, so I just kept at it.
Well, it seemed to work out for you. Germany also has a really rich history in Madison racing, and in part because of the wonderful rich history of the 6-day racing in Germany, in the Netherlands. And it's wonderful to see them continue to develop talent. Roger Kluge, he can't ride forever. He's 5-time Olympian, 3-time world champion, 40 years of age. In the twilight of his career, one would say, but still certainly in impressive enough form that they have figured in every sprint that has been run.
This is the furthest back they have been, though, the Germans, coming to a sprint for some time. Can they still pick up the points? This might be just the challenge now, to see whether they can get points in every single sprint in the race, and they will, because look at Roger Kluge, straight up around the outside. Liam Walsh is a fast cyclist, but look at the big man Kluge. He doesn't get over the top of Liam, but he came from 5th wheel to finish in 2nd. So trying to make a statement there, the 3-time world Madison champion.
Well, at this point, that might be what they're aiming for. That might be something that they know, that if they can just consistently be in every sprint, even if it's in 4th, that they will. The Australians are cleaning up. Oh, look at the wobble, though, that happened there with that change. Throwing Liam Walsh in. He is fast, but Connor Leahy, jeepers, he was lucky to hold control of that. That shows great skill. That was a great replay. And Liam Walsh is doing a really good job of doing enough when he's winning these sprints. He's looking around a lot. He's making sure he's very aware of who's coming and who's not, and that's serving them well. They're moving up the table, certainly solidifying their silver medal as a result.
So a good sprint there from the Aussies, even though the change was a little bit sketchy. The technique was good there, just Connor Leahy in the inside. Hand a little bit too far out from the middle of the bike as he's pulling on it. And you can look at that, the old tank slapper in motorbike terms. So the change was done, no big deal. But doesn't give you a lot of confidence when your bike starts doing that.
No, when you're watching it, to be honest. I mean, I think his family have only just recovered from his fall in the scratch race in the Omnium last night.
Here they go again. They've done it 3 times for 3 sprint wins, and China once again on the attack. And of course, the more we go into this race, the more the fatigue sets in. One of these attacks might actually work for a lap gain. Japan have gone with them. Pace gone off a little bit there because he's underlapping the wheel somewhat. But at 53 laps to go, Germany comes to the front. Augenstein it is this time. Normally it's been Kluge doing the hunting, and now it's Moritz. Austria in tow, Czechia and Australia a little bit further back. So the Asian combination, China and Japan, putting the pressure on. 52 to go. The sprint will be next time around, so it's not going to be the off the front individual type sprint the Chinese have been able to dominate. The Germans once again in control as they come to the sprint, and it'll be the change for Roger Kluge this time. It's worked well in the last sprint for big man Roger. And Austria second, Japan, then it's China. And the Aussies are chasing, so they're out of the picture at the moment. It's going to hurt them to get back into this race. Another 5-point sprint win there for Germany.
Germany's certainly shutting China down every time. And they're very quick onto it as well. But they're also conscious that Australia is the closest to them in the points. So every opportunity when they look over their shoulder and there is a gap in front of Team Australia, that is where they really seem to just notch it up a bit. A little bit cruel from the German team. No, it's a very savvy approach from them. They extend their lead 54 points. They have featured in every sprint so far, the only team to do so. And we're seeing some really different tactics emerging. Team China have only featured in 4 sprints. Japan is only 2 points in front of them, but they've featured in 8 sprints. Efficiency versus consistency.
And it's not an easy stat to try and find out, but by this stage, quite possibly, if not probably, is the first time that I certainly know that the Germans or a team has not missed a sprint in an international level Madison like this. So this is an incredibly commanding performance that the European champs are putting on.
Well, there's a data point we'll have to find.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a quick fix. You'd have to go through every World Cup and look at every Madison result and go back through the years, World Championships, European Championships, etc. They are riding so well, Germany. At the age of 40, it's quite extraordinary. Augenstein, 28, Kluger, 40, living their best lives.
They've been here for 4 weeks. They came out straight after the European Championships in Konya. If you care to go over to their social media, you'll see that they have ducked around everywhere. They've been to the chocolate factory in the Swan Valley. They've been to Cottesloe Beach. They didn't quite get to Rottnest Island to visit the quokkas, but as they're going, they'll win a couple of quokka plushies tonight to take home. But they've enjoyed the training environment here in Perth.
Interesting situation here. Once again, we see China off the front, but they did attack underneath Germany. I thought, well, that's a silly move. You've attacked over the top of the strongest team in the race. They'll just shut it down. But Augenstein swung up and was looking for help. And that's allowed them to get some room here. So they should be able to hold on for the next sprint. Coming around for it now, 41 laps to go. China once again off the front, being hunted down by Germany. Kluger will come back into the race off the change of Moritz Augenstein down the back straight. And this is just a point to prove now for the Germans. They want to try and shut everyone down. 5 points over the top. No, you don't. How dare you, is the way Kluger is looking at it.
I feel as though Team China look over their shoulder and see the might of the European champions coming and think, not again, because it has been Kluger and Augenstein who have shut down the very great attacks from Team China on every occasion. Team China becoming more consistent in the sprints than they were earlier. They have scored in the last in 3 of the last 4 sprints, where it took them a while at the beginning of the race to get onto that board. So it's a good thing, because often if you score a lot of points early, it can all come apart in the back end of the race. 200 laps was where it started, 50 kilometres of racing. So we are past 75%. And look at how quickly Kluger just surges up around Team China. It's clinical.
Impressive. And he's not known as a pure fast bunch race sprinter, but
is he breathing? It doesn't even look like he's breathing particularly hard.
Breathing through his nose. Roger Kluger comes back into the race again, and it's a real art form when you're out of the race to be able to try and recover as quickly as you can. There have been plenty of high-class, say, team pursuit style riders, but when you get into a Madison or even into a points race where you've got to stay close to the red for so long, whereas in the Madison, you're in the red, out of it, in the red, out of it, and you're on and off as you go in the race and out of it and try and recover. And not many of the riders these days that train for the other events like the team pursuit, etc., do that style of stop-start training, which we always did when I was doing the Madison training, and trying to get the heart rate back down as quickly as possible. It's almost like the biathletes. You know, you've come into the shoot station, get the heart rate down, try and recover, then get back out onto the snow. Very similar.
A high volume of micro closed, they're in control. If they're able to continue breathing through their nose, we do see that with Kluger. He takes a few really big breaths when he's rolling around the fence and recovering.
But the opposite of that is when they say you're breathing through your ears. That's when you're absolutely in trouble.
Yeah, anywhere that you can get breath and air, and that's what we see certainly in the last 20 laps of a 200-lapper.
Liam Walsh, late change. This could get awkward. High on the track. Look at that. Oh, and the team's behind trying to get past. So top and tail, bottom and top of the track as the Connor Leahy comes over the top of Roger Kluger. The crowd here in Western Australia loved that one, but that was a little bit sketchy. I'm glad they got through there without any incident.
Yeah, so a few deep breaths on my end there. Not nose breathing while that was happening.
Well, this is what we call chess at 180 beats per minute. So Walsh in the attack had to make sure that Connor didn't come down too much. Germans comfortable change at the bottom of the track, but at that speed, almost like you're slamming into a wall when you do the change at the top.
And until you can see Team Austria come into shot, you think, why is he still sitting so high? Why hasn't he come down yet? But of course, he can see Team Austria and he knows he has to clear that. He did then get a good run off the bank over the top of Team Germany, which gave Leahy, in the end, an easy sprint win. But remembering that at the end of all of this, there's still double points in that final sprint. And so Team Germany, they're starting to look very comfortable. They're featured in every sprint. Team Australia, they're only 11 points in front of Team Austria, so they certainly can be beaten for that silver medal. And it is about consistency in these last three sprints.
I think the race for gold, barring incident, should be over by now. Still a bit of racing to go, but there's certainly that battle you mentioned. But for second, third, Japan 21 points within reach of the bronze medal. Austria still can get themselves to silver. Change miss there for Japan, luckily at a slow time in the race, so it shouldn't affect them too much.
Not as critical. 65 to 70 changes per race, per 50-kilometre race. Even if you get most of them right, there will be a few hairy ones.
Also important for the riders when they're out of the race to be able to ride really slowly. It's also a skill in its own to ensure that your teammate is in the race for the minimal amount of time. So, okay, let's do 5 or 6 changes more through the race, but it means we're at a high speed for a minimal amount of time compared to some of the other teams.
That's right. If you're riding too quickly around the top, then it will take them longer to catch you and your teammate will be in there longer.
It's so frustrating when you're absolutely chomping at the bit and struggling and you look at your teammate thinking, just slow down, I can't catch you.
Where are you?
So the next sprint's not too far away. China off the front again. They've had a couple of good sprint wins. It's always a long-range attack for them. This one's a little bit closer to the bell, but they are looking really fast. Australia, Liam Walsh, look at him tucked down in that aero position, trying to just peek over the fence. As he comes up towards the back wheel, it'll be second place for him. More points again for Germany, and Austria pick up 1 point.
This is really interesting from Team China because they've consistently been moving up. They're now into 4th, and if they do what they have been doing, which is not participating in every sprint but really making it count when they do, they very realistically will get up into that bronze medal position. Australia in a much better position now. Here's the Chinese change. They had a good advantage at the front. Wow, that was a long extension though. Yeah,
and an untidy sling. So they were confident with the long extension, so I feel like they're confident on the bike, but it was just too high a hand sling, so not very efficient, but they have potential because they're both very good riders, clearly. They can just get that technique down pat, then they will certainly be more dangerous.
Oh, this is the first of 3 World Cups this year. Team China across the board have been really, really exciting, and I think as we work through the next 2, which are in Asia, we're going to see a lot more of these emerging teams.
Japan on the attack. Australia happy to participate. Germany it is that's chasing. Austria's with them, and now the big effort from China, not even in shot yet. No, just about. We're about to come into shot. They've really missed out after that big deep sprint they went on before. So the top 4 teams with China just starting to struggle now. So that's the challenge of going so deep for those sprints. If there's an attack after it, you've got to be ready for that as well. So that's hurting China. But a good move from Japan.
Yeah, that's cost them deeply. Mathematically, Japan can still leapfrog into that bronze medal position if Austria are down and if they take advantage of the double points in the last sprint.
Well, China do need another 3 points to get back in front of China. So making that attack, putting them out the back, that's certainly going to help that effort. China won't be picking up any points in this next sprint, possibly not the last one either. But it's the penultimate sprint to come. The last of our 5-point sprints will be the next time they come around this track.
18 sprints so far. Team Germany have gotten points in all 18 of them.
So Australia in a good position now with a 13-point lead over Austria. Still 15 points up for grabs. But the Australians will definitely get some points here. Oh, Liam Walsh looks a bit tired. Germany, Austria, they'll pick up 5 and 3. But Walsh looking really fatigued there. Japan getting 4th place. I'm surprised they didn't go over the top to beat Liam there. And Kluger wants to go on with it. He can see that everybody's under pressure. They are really stressed behind him. And the big man, 3-time world champion, they said, thank you very much, everyone. We're going to sign off this one the best way we can.
Well, Team Germany, they came here on a mission, and my goodness, have they executed. Roger Kluger taking absolutely no prisoners. He'll throw Augenstein in, see if they can finish this off. Team Australia, to get the silver medal, they only need to figure somewhere as long as Austria don't win. So at the moment with Team Germany off the front, it's actually serving them very well.
Well, there's no reason to chase for those other teams because they know that there's still the medals to play for. And look at that, there's the acceleration. Schmidbauer was on the wheel and could do nothing to follow Roger Kluger. So if they don't chase here, there is a chance. They're starting to. So Japan are really starting to chase them down. I thought maybe they could get a last-minute lap. They don't need it. They've got the race won, but why not?
Yeah, they certainly don't need it. If Team Germany don't get caught, there is not enough points available in 2nd, 3rd and 4th for the medal standings to change at this point, regardless of what happens in the minor placing. So Germany are essentially neutralising the final sprint from an overall standing perspective. Why are they doing that? I think they have just been so dominant that they just want to finish the job.
Yeah, they don't care who finishes second.
They don't really care. No, it's not their prerogative. They don't need to care.
But Japan are really desperately trying to make sure China don't come back up to them. And the best they can really finish, though, China now, would be in 4th. They're in 5th place. They could move up into 4th, but they've got two teams just sitting on saving energy. Augenstein, job done for him, comes around for the final 2 laps. Whether they pick up the 10 points at the end or not doesn't matter, but they probably still will because the 3 chasers are a long way back.
A bit of a scrappy change for all 3 teams in the chase there. Augenstein, he looks comfortable. They've got a gold medal coming to them. I expect a fantastic celebration as they get the bell.
Well, look at the gap. It's really closing down, but Roger Kluger is coming in for the change. He has to really step on it to make sure he picks up the 10 points here, because Kokas is coming from Austria. Germany will not pick up the 10 points here because Kokas will get over the top. Oh, only just. Really tight in the end. It didn't matter for the gold medal, though. Didn't matter where they finished at all. Roger Kluger knew well and truly before they came near those last 10 laps that they were going to win gold.
I mean, it was very lucky for Team Australia that they got 2 points there, because with Austria taking the 10, they very nearly lost their silver medal. But look at that, absolute domination. 72 points to Team Germany. They figured in every single sprint, 20 of them in total in this 50-kilometre race. 55 kilometres an hour average. And the silver medal goes to Team Australia. You can see some bandages on Conor Leahy after the effort yesterday in the Omnium. Liam Walsh, he looks quite exhausted, quite zonked. We saw in the back end of the race he started to really fatigue. But what an effort to continue and hold on to that silver medal. So great signs for this relatively new pairing at international level.
Great finish from Austria. Schmidbauer there. It was Kokas, his teammate, that picked up the 10-point sprint, narrowed the margin to the silver medal by 2 points. but not quite enough left in the tank. No more points. So Germany get the job done in a point tally that would normally come from gaining laps on the field. That was all in the sprints, which was quite extraordinary to have 72 points ahead of Australia. Austria very tight in the end, with Japan doing a lot of damage to make sure China stayed down in 5th place. So they leapfrogged China to get up into 4th. Czechia, we saw them very early on. They faded as we went deeper into the race. Indonesia, they were the last of the teams to complete the distance, with Chinese Taipei and Hong Kong being taken off the track.
And the crowd giving a very big cheer to all of the teams as they came through. This is the final change for Team China, trying desperately to get back up to the front of the race. But Team Germany just too strong. It was almost a moment of hilarity for Kluge when he realised. It truly, I don't think he realised, and he tried to step on the pedals, but Kokas just had a bit too much momentum. You can see it right here. Oh.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a kick. Oh, no, doesn't matter. It was over. Yeah, if he off the last change, if he absolutely went maximum from there, they would have held on. Just didn't need to. Roger Kluge does it again. European champion, 3 times a world champion, and he's the winner here in Perth. UCI Track World Cup, the last of the endurance races for the men here on our 3rd day of competition. Some applause there for Connor Leahy, for Liam Walsh, who had a couple of moments in that one, Liam.
If they can get a silver medal at a World Cup with some work to do on technique, I think that bodes really well for the pairing. And I think what we saw from Kluge and Augenstein is just what a good Madison pairing looks like and what experience looks like.
Into the medal rounds now for the men's sprint. The race for bronze, best of 3 competition, of course. Mikhail Yakovlev from Israel, born in Moscow, now riding for Israel. And born in Malaysia, but now living for the last almost 20 years in Melbourne, Victoria. Azizul Awang, the winner of the keirin last night, former keirin world champion. And we have the long and the short of it in the men's sprint with Yakovlev and Awang.
Australian sports fans love to claim anybody who spends any time in Australia as their own, and he's certainly very popular with the crowd. He's a very exciting sprinter.
Well, he mentioned in the interview after winning the keirin last night, his coach, John Beasley, who's just had some surgery recently. I'm sure John's tuning in. All the best to you, mate. He's done such a great job of building this Malaysian program, and sometimes it might seem easy when you've got a rider like Azizul to lead the way. He's an absolute superstar in Malaysia, and at the age of 38 shows no signs of slowing down. A little bit of a tail whip there as he goes around the bend. 2 very different riders, not obviously in stature, but also tactically. And you see Awang there trying to do the same thing he did to Matthew Richardson to force Yakovlev to the front. Mikhail, having none of that, did not want to even attempt to do a track stand deep into the bend.
And a foot difference in height does make a difference. Awang can literally duck under the elbow of Yakovlev. Awang has a better acceleration from a slower speed, but Yakovlev will want to make it a fast and long sprint to make the most of his staying power.
Dives down underneath. We know the power that Yakovlev has. He was the 2nd fastest qualifier. He did have the unofficial world record. Best of 3 competition here in this race for the bronze medal. Out of the saddle. And it's Awang that leads. Yakovlev not closing it down enough, though. So the pocket rocket from Malaysia gets the first win in the race for bronze. And that was convincing. I thought more from Mikhail. He'll have to rethink that. I think he's better to be riding from front position, Yakovlev, just using that big horsepower that he has in those massive thighs.
Yeah, as he got the jump on him, he certainly, which is similar to how Hoffman progressed through to the gold medal ahead of Yakovlev in that final. Just making sure he got that moment of acceleration. It's certainly harder to accelerate a 100-kilo frame than it is to accelerate from a lower speed, a 75-kilo frame.
They are so different, contrasting styles, but an impressive sprint there from Awang.
And he's just so aerodynamic too.
You're not getting much slipstream.
No,
Back of left, that's right.
No,
sure.
that's a tough one. But that is the first of up to 3 for the bronze medal at the first Track World Cup of the season here in beautiful Perth.
Well, the race for gold and silver now between the former teammates. Matthew Richardson, the European champion, now riding for Great Britain, but a world champion in 2022 in the men's team sprint alongside that man, Lee Hoffman. So former teammates, now rivals. The race for gold and silver. The world record holder in Richardson on sensational form, second in the keirin last night, but he has had fantastic recent form. Hoffman is carrying a wrist injury on his right wrist. Really only affects him doing the maximum efforts from a slow speed. So if they are at a higher speed, it shouldn't create too much of a problem for Lee Hoffman. But the speed of Richardson, that's the big challenge. The race for gold.
Richardson learnt how to race a bike on this very track. He knows these boards like the back of his hands. And they know each other too. They've been teammates, Olympic medalists together in the team sprint. They've trained a lot together. They've learnt their craft together.
Fascinating matchup. The European champ Richardson from Great Britain, certainly the favourite. Has the superior speed. What can Hoffman do? Down the back straight. Slowly winding things up. Richardson happy to take control. Securing the bottom of the track. And now up to full speed almost. About 95% now as they go into the last lap. Change of hand position there for Richardson. Into the more aero tuck as he goes down. Look over the shoulder. He looks comfortable. Super comfortable from Richardson. He will get the first win in the race for gold in the men's sprint here in Perth. So Richardson goes one up against Lee Hoffman. Good start for the man from Great Britain, the European champ. That looks strong.
He looked comfortable. He even had a chance to look over his shoulder to check in with where Hoffman was. There it is. He looks under his elbow first, then he looks over his shoulder just to make sure. And Hoffman did certainly make a late charge, but it was not enough. And Richardson had taken his foot off the gas at that point.
He had kicked in the clutch, you can see, just looking underneath the shoulder. You could see that Hoffy wasn't going to get there, so just kick the clutch in, put it into neutral, cruise across the line, save some energy for the next race. Plenty of wrists getting workouts in the stands here. Makeshift fans being used. And the next race starting to come up onto the track, and it'll be the elimination for the women's omnium.
So the omnium 4 events. It starts with a scratch race. Tempo is next. This is the standings at the halfway point after the tempo race. Stenberg, the most experienced rider in the race from Norway. She's leading 76 points now. She did win the scratch race and she was then third in the tempo race. But it is consistency in an omnium that gets you there. The elimination, we're looking at the back of the race for that, not the front. As Lee Hoffman gets a cool towel on his shoulders and a chance to regroup before the next round.
Have a rethink, see what sort of tactics they think they can come up with, try and get over the top of Matt Richardson. But for now, it's the endurance riders again. Anita Stenberg from Norway leads the way in the women's omnium after the 2 rounds we've already had. And this one's where you really have to think about it, though. You might be right up there in the overall standings. One little mistake, get caught down underneath and get eliminated early and miss out on getting maximum points. That's the challenge in the elimination, and it goes without saying, they're getting more and more tired as we go further into it. So Yaka Uchino, 24-year-old.
She was sensational in the Madison last night, winning a gold medal. with Kikita.
She was a bronze medalist in the World Championships back in 2023. So these long, hard endurance races, not too bad. And speaking of points race world champs, this is the current one, Acevedo from Mexico. She won in Santiago, Chile last year. Brought the house down.
Yeah, big day for Latin America.
It was a great atmosphere, it must be said. Chen Ning, 24-year-old from China, rides for the Live Pro Cycling team. Here's Stenberg.
She's a good operator, Stenberg, knows how to read a race.
10th at the World Championships last year in this discipline. 5th at the Tokyo Olympics in the Omnium. So the formation lap for the women's elimination in the Omnium, the third of 4 disciplines. And all together, so they are underway. Last rider across the line every 2 laps eliminated from the race. 40 points for the winner. So very important to go as deep as you can into this one and don't make a tactical mistake and get caught underneath. You see Chen from China at the moment, right down, tucked underneath. That is a dangerous position when they do fan right up around the outside.
It often looks as though the real danger comes from the riders who are at the top and quite a way back, but using the banking to get some speed into the straight, you often get trapped underneath with nowhere to go. And Rizavea, the young talent out of Tashkent, Uzbekistan, the youngest rider in the race, at 21 years of age, she's the first to be eliminated. Using these World Cups not just to earn points, but gain a lot of experience.
The eliminations come very quickly. Every 2 laps. Acevedo, the points race world champion. She'll be looking at who's down on the inside, how much he needs to accelerate. Big advantage coming from high on the banking. You can see the downhill run. Ooh, very tight. That could have been Pilates down the bottom. It is number 1, Alyssa Pilates.
Ooh, and she hits the handlebars. Not happy with that. That was a positioning error. She didn't run out of motor. She'll be annoyed with herself for that one. And that's what the body language is telling us.
Good indication of what we're saying there. Stuck down the bottom with nowhere to go. You end up being eliminated. You have to keep fighting to get into good position after every elimination lap. Stenberg once again sitting towards the front, comfortable, pushing into the wind, but not in danger of being eliminated, as we see Ramirez from Trinidad and Tobago go. Didn't have the X factor to stay further into the race. She's got the factor bike though. Campos from Portugal at the front. Once again, Acevedo at the back. But she can see she's on the outside of Chen Ning here. She knows she doesn't have to go any further forward than just keeping Chen boxed in. And she basically nominated Chen as the next one to go out, made sure that happened.
She did. I'm surprised that she is sitting so far back. I mean, actually, Graham Frisley did it in the men's Omnium as well, sat a fair way back and just chipped his way in every time before coming out with a great result. But it does cost energy.
Tom Cornish in the standalone elimination on the first night did that a lot as well.
It makes for nervous watching if you're on Team Mexico, that's for sure.
Shevchikova, and again it's Acevedo doing the policing at the back, just almost choosing who she wants to take out of the race. The tactics that she's using there, really smart. So Acevedo survives again, and Shevchikova is gone.
Well, Stenberg has been riding a safe and conservative race at the front, making sure she's never on the chopping board.
Flags are ready, so they show the flags when they come around to make sure that they understand that they are the riders that have been eliminated. There was the Spanish flag that was being prepared and ready, and Guella in the bottom of the track could be in danger, and it's her. So they preempted that one. The top of the cluster of flags was Spain, and Anguello is the one to go.
Well, as she made the move underneath, she... Oh! And we just heard a crash, and there it is in the back of shot.
Uchino it was that's gone down.
Yeah, Uchino, and she vocalised quite a bit when she got down, but the race has been neutralised. That's what the yellow flag means, to make sure that Uchino can get back in the race if she's able to do so. She is up on her feet.
Well, that's also the difference from other bunch races. If there's a crash, as long as they're not lying in a dangerous position close to the edge of the track, the race to give that rider an opportunity to get back in, then restart. That is the difference that the elimination has in the rules and regulations.
Ooh, that was quite a move up from Stenberg, and just a simple clip of wheel from Uchino. The commissaires will be taking a look at that because Stenberg moved quite egregiously out of the line. I'm glad that Uchino is okay. She's back on the bike. She will come into shot in a moment. This is the bunch just rejoining. There it is, beautiful on the wide shot. Uchino, she'll pick up a bit of speed to make sure she can slot into that bunch. And back with 5.
And what it does for those riders that stayed upright, gives them a little bit of extra recovery that you wouldn't normally be expecting in a race as difficult as the elimination. So we're underway again.
I mean, on the upside, I suppose Uchino gets an extra shot of adrenaline that she didn't have, but that can wear off fairly quickly. Stenberg, the first time we've seen her at the back. She is the race leader coming into this third of 4 races.
Campos it is from Portugal. Big sprint acceleration to try and stay in this elimination. Stenberg in the most comfortable position in the draft second wheel. And Javedo at the back. And really having to fight a little bit harder this time to make sure she stays in. Ooh, and she might have been gone. So look at that, 5 wide across the track. And 1 too many. Javedo gone. The world champion in the points race. Not maximising her opportunity here.
Well, the points race is the next at the end, and that is her favoured event, so maybe not panic stations just yet.
Campos again, Stenberg, Uchino going through the middle of the sandwich, and Lizzie Wing and Campos self-eliminating here. And the other 3 have noticed that, so they haven't really sprinted to the line. So Campos is the next to go for Portugal. We're down to 3.
And these 3 are also the top 3 coming into this event. Stenberg leading, Uchino second, Shi-Wing Lee sitting in the bronze medal position. So they really are emerging as the top 3 riders in this competition.
Focusing on the next elimination. Oh, diving down underneath. Lizzie Wing, that was a good move. Stenberg out of the saddle. A lot of body language going on here, and it's Uchino that's in trouble. Can still have the opportunity to stay in there. She will be able to. So it'll be the top 2 going through to the last 2 riders here. Lizzie Wing has been eliminated. She'll get 36 points for the overall standing. So good, solid ride, though.
Solidify her spot. Look at that beautiful sparkly factor. That was lovely. Uchino and Stenberg. Now, it was Stenberg. It was her change of direction that caused Uchino to come down quite heavily from mid-bank.
Short sprint, final lap. And now pouncing out of the saddle, both riders, maximum speed, fatigue in the legs. It's so hard to sprint when you're this tired, but Uchino has been able to do it slightly better. So she gets the win in the women's elimination of the Omnium series. And Stenberg, 38 points for her. Get the dust off the skin suit for Uchino. She gets 40 points and a couple of splinters for her efforts.
And that is great from her. She took home a gold medal in the Madison last night with teammate Kita, and showed that she has a lot of speed in the sprints. And so the points race will really suit her, as the Madison did. But it will be mostly dependent, the overall result, on what happens in that points race because of how tight this competition is.
And you can see that, only 2 points between those 2, Stenberg and Uchino. That's going to be fascinating. Lizzie Wing looking really good. We look down a bit more to Acevedo in particular. We mentioned the points race. She's on 94. She's the world champion in the points race discipline. That's what's up next to finish off the women's Omnium. So expect something from her to try and climb back up the overall standings. a laboured final sprint, as it always is in the elimination. Such a difficult race.
They are quite different riders. Uccino is quite fast. Stenberg, much more consistent, riding long, certainly winning the scratch race. It was from an early effort and to keep that sprint high. But I'm really impressed with Uccino regrouping after that crash, because sometimes it's not just physically but psychologically you really need to regroup. So she's done a fantastic job there, and we hope that a small break while the keirin finals and the sprint finals are on.
Well, I did mention, and I don't know if she does have any splinters, but it often does happen when you do crash on the board track. The man in black, Azizul Awang, I'd be remiss to not mention the most famous splinters of all time. You won't talk too much about it. If you want to have a look at it, Google Awang splinter, and you'll go back a few years to a World Cup race where he had a nasty splinter go through his leg, probably about 30 centimetres long, straight through the calf. He got up and finished the race after the crash because he wanted points to qualify for the World Championships. He is a tough nut, Azizul Awang.
He's remarkable. The winner of the keirin here last night, took home a gold medal.
Mikhail Yakovlev patiently waits beside him, and once again just checking where Uccino crashed.
This is what a track repair looks like. Sometimes they get the ladder out. They're just using some commissaire power there.
Well, and the commissaire in the white shirt, I'm sure he would have preferred to have just used the ladder instead, because you want to be pretty good friends.
That was a bit rugby union-esque there that we saw. Some ice vests. We've talked about it being quite warm in here. It is a fast track with some warm conditions.
What was do you remember how many slushies the Australians have been having? It sounds like they're just on holidays, but it's about the core temperature.
Yes, an enormous amount. They've got a slushy machine so that they can keep the core temperature as low as possible while also warming up the muscle temperature on the rollers before the races. Yakovlev, the first onto the track.
So Azizul Awang, one up in the race for the bronze medal here against Mikhail Yakovlev, the Malaysian versus Israel.
Yakovlev qualified with 9.515 this morning. Awang 9.702. He's been pushed pretty hard. Awang knocked out Tate Ryan in the quarterfinals, the young Australian, in 2 rounds, but they were 2 very close rounds.
But if you go back to those times from the qualifying, Kate, 9.5 versus 9.7, 0.2 of a second, fairly significant at this level, yet we saw how Awang absolutely dominated that first sprint. So racing versus the time trial, very, very different indeed. You have to have the combination of speed and skill and craft if you want to win at the highest level. And Yakovlev,
well, he was caught unawares in the first because Awang's superpower is definitely the acceleration from a slower speed. Yakovlev, once they are up at top speed, he can just build and hold that. So lesson learnt from him. He's sitting in first position, so he's in a position to dictate the speed from the get-go. He'll need a different tactic because Awang is certainly savvy enough to catch any moment of weakness.
men's sprint race for the bronze medal. Awang one up in the best of 3. If he wins this, he's got the bronze. Yakovlev needs to do something special to force a decider. Obligated to lead for the first half lap. And we've seen the tactics that Awang has been able to introduce into the racing. Very skillful when it comes to slow speeds and tactics, track stands and balancing. Manoeuvrability, look at that. And a little bit of a skid there to try and show that he has some skills as well from Yakovlev.
They can come to a standstill twice in this event for no more than 30 seconds at a time.
And just slowing down, you can see how Mikhail has just really tried to slow down there to force Awang to the front. So some good tactics there. I do feel that Mikhail's probably better from the first position, but let's see. He's now in second position. Awang being hunted.
Well, if Yakovlev can use the second position to get up to speed and make sure that the point of acceleration is taken away from Awang, then that'll serve him well.
Coming around to get the bell now. One hand on the bronze medal for Azizul Awang. Wins this, he'll have both hands on it, and it'll be around his neck in the presentation. Down the back straight. Yakovlev out of the saddle. Both riders powering into the final bend. Awang did this in the last race. It was good enough to get the win, and it'll be good enough to get the bronze. Chucks in a wheel stand across the line to celebrate, and Awang once again stands on a podium at World Cup level. He won the keirin last night, and it's a bronze medal in the sprint.
What a ripper, and he is so pleased with that effort. The crowd is loving it. He's an entertainer, for sure. And that was a fantastic 2 from 2.
Yakovlev wanted the second position and then didn't have the power and speed to come from behind. I felt his better option was to stay in front.
It surprised me a bit, but it depends how he's feeling, and only he knows that. But he just could not match the acceleration at this point. It was almost exactly the same as what happened in the first round. And especially, you can see the difference in physique. He's so aerodynamic. Yakovlev just floating out there in the wind.
And the BMX bandit from Malaysia pops the mono across the line, and victory celebration. He did do a little tiny wheel stand in the keirin yesterday, but when it's absolutely desperate for the win, you'll notice the front wheel doesn't pop up just as much as it does here when he knows it's more about the celebration. His signature move for Awang. He was asked yesterday in the interview post-race if he was going to go on to Los Angeles 2028. And he was non-committal, it must be said. He's talking about the World Championships later this year. He's now 38. But let's hope he does continue. He is an entertainer. The race for gold and silver now. Matthew Richardson won up in their best-of-3 competition, and it was a convincing victory to him over Lee Hoffman, the former teammates, now bitter rivals.
Well, Richardson qualifying 9.325, a track record. The fastest time ever ridden in Australia. Hoffman 9.564. They know each other well. They've won an Olympic medal in the same team sprint at the Paris Olympics before Richardson moved alliances to the UK. European champion, that's the jersey we are seeing, the blue and white stripes.
Seen a lot of track records here in Perth. It's been quite a while since we've had a World Cup or World Championship level event. So all of the timed events here were new records for these boards. For now, it's not so much about the time. It's all about the tactics, the speed and the power. The fastest cyclists on the planet head to head.
Richardson won 2 golds at the European Championships. I think he was hopeful and expectant to win the keirin gold. That was taken away by Awang last night, but he's on a mission.
Nervous coaching staff on the infield. Down to business in the zone for the boys on the track, though. Hoffman out of the saddle. Richardson looks comfortable, just stalking second position, and look at that casual cruise up to the back wheel of Hoffman and straight past. Oh, he almost sucked his helmet off. He went past so quickly. Richardson, 2 straight wins and a gold medal here in Perth. That was convincing.
He's a hometown hero here in Perth. He was on a mission. He was very determined. Had a bit of a bingle earlier, self-inflicted with a track stand with Awang, but he bounced right back. There's the coaching staff for Great Britain. Matthew Richardson, crowd favourite. They know him, they've watched him before. This is where he learnt to race his bicycle.
Cameron Meyer, big smile from him, he's happy. Confirmation, Matthew Richardson. We saw how fast he was on the track. He was disappointed with winning second in the keirin last night. Felt that he gave it away a little bit by easing up before the line. Didn't do it this time. Power all the way through. Hoffman, good result for him though. He's only in his 2nd year as a fully blown individual sprinter. And Azizul Awang, the evergreen at 38, continues to perform at the highest level.
It was a wonderful sprint competition in the men's. We see all of the full classification there. It's been a big day. They go from qualifying in the morning through all of the rounds, all in one day.
And most of these sprinters, Richo didn't, but most of them doing the team sprint, then into the keirin, and now this. So fresher legs for Matthew Richardson as well. But Hoffman also didn't do the team sprint, so no excuse there. But that was really impressive. Look at that. The home crowd. Well, former home crowd, still home crowd. How do you call it? Rides for Great Britain now, living in the UK, but he was certainly chuffed to be able to come back to Australia for this one. Team GB didn't send any other riders down, and it took a bit of convincing. Richo really wanted to come out here to race, of course, having grown up in Perth. So they allowed him to do so. Cameron Meyer, the coach for Great Britain, it also comes from Perth, was out here on holiday. So it was quite convenient that he was already here to be able to then support Richardson at the World Cup in Perth. So it's worked out really well. Silver and a gold. And just to see the family and friends again and perform. He hasn't raced at an international level competition in Australia now for a couple of years since making the switch to GB.
Oh, it's very special, and he's very loved here in Perth. So a special moment for him and for family. And, you know, for the Australian team, they put a lot of work and effort into him as well. And there's certainly some pride watching an athlete really hit their straps. We're moving on to the women's keirin. Small final, 7th to 12th, but you could be forgiven for thinking that this was the gold medal final, because the world champion Mina Sato, she is in here. The Olympic champion Elise Andrews also in here. Nikki de Grendele, former keirin world champion, she is in here too. And Leah Friedrich, 8-time world champion for Germany, well, she's here too. So it is an absolutely stacked women's keirin competition, and this is the best 7th to 12th you will ever see. Oh, I'm prepared to throw that out there. 6 laps. The journey starts at 30 kilometres an hour, pulls off at 50 with 3 laps to go.
Pride on the line here in the race for 7th, the world champion. Then Friedrich, Andrews, King, the second of the New Zealanders, so Andrews on the gold bike. Then we have the 2 Belgians at the back, Gaysens and de Grendele. One more lap until the bike comes off here. Shane Perkins, former keirin world champion, doing the honours on the motorcycle. Women's keirin race for 7th place. And the bike exits stage left. And it's Mina Sato from Japan in the rainbow bands as world champion. The first to make the move, though, is Nikki de Grendele. The 2 Belgians coming up around the outside as well, looking to perhaps get some team tactics at play here and try and help each other out.
Well, de Grendele has been world champion in this event. She certainly knows how to ride a keirin. It is special if you do have 2. New Zealand also have 2 in the final. Friedrich, Germany, taking no chances.
And Andrews up to the side there of Friedrich, so it's going to be a drag race around this final lap, an arm wrestle between Germany and New Zealand. 8-time world champion on the inside, the Olympic keirin champion on the outside. It's the race for 7th, but you'd think it'd be the race for gold with these riders in it. And Friedrich on the inside for the last 2 laps. Maybe.
Photo finish it looks between Andrews and Friedrich. From where we are, we're pretty much on the finishing line.
It is Friedrich. They have given it to the inside, so the final lap and a half, side by side, shoulder to shoulder. And the final throw to the line, and Leah Friedrich from Germany comes away with 7th. Andrews, the Olympic champ, in 8th. And the world champion 9th, Mina Sato. These are names that we normally not do. We don't normally commentate in the race for 7th place. Quite extraordinary.
No, that'll be a sensational photo finish. And you can just see Elise Andrews muscling over the top of Friedrich here. But Friedrich held her line. She stayed well within that sprint lane. So technically a very sound. Andrews all the way to the line. The push. Oh, that is as tight as it gets. And the camera angle is just back of the start finish, so we don't quite get that clean shot that the photo finish does. But Goodness me.
Impossible to tell from the front shot, that's for sure.
I mean, Sato, she came flying around the outside too to get what will be 9th place, but 3rd in the race. Oh, look at that. That is literally a tyre width.
22 mil, I would think.
200
track
plus
tyres are about 22 millimetres.
PSI.
Yeah. So Friedrich over Andrews, Sato, de Grendler, King and Gaysens. So despite having 2 riders in there, the Belgians unable to get themselves to the very pointy end. So the race for the gold medal, though. Veronika Yabnikova. And then 2 riders representing the neutral flag. And this is the young sensation, Huang from China. Also Wang. So 2 riders from China. Will they try and help each other out a little bit? We don't see it as often as we used to in the past, where they really did. And Lysenko is the European champion. And Alessia McCaig from Bendigo in central Victoria, now based out of Brisbane, as the sprint program has moved from Adelaide after so many years, moved up to Brisbane to the Annemiers Velodrome.
Well, she's had a rapid rise through the sport. Really talented, and this is a young group. And this is certainly the future, held up by Carly McCulloch, a medalist in the keirin at the World Championships herself. And it's wonderful to see the mentors and coaches from generations past really passing down the craft.
Average age of around 21, I think, in this race for gold. So a very young group indeed, the next generation, led by Alessia McCaig, 4th at the World Championships last year in Santiago.
Yabnikova, the eldest at a ripe 25 years of age. One is the youngest at 20. And it will be tame until 3 laps to go. So another lap behind the Derny. Looking over the shoulder, you can see McCaig waiting. Are they going to start moving and advancing ahead of the bike pulling off?
And with the 2 Chinese riders there, Huan, who won the sprint yesterday, the young 20-year-old sensation with the white helmet. That's the one just giving a little bit of distance now, looking behind the shoulder. And McCaig, the bike has come off 3 laps to go. And McCaig with a big gap here. Sometimes there's an opportunity to go for it because they're out of the slipstream if you really want to, and she's noticed it. She's going to go for it. It wasn't the tactic she wanted to employ, but with that amount of room that's been given, 2 laps to go, it's full gas now for Alessia McCaig. Lysenko trying to chase her, stuck in the middle, and then the Chinese-led trailing group trying to come up. Coming around for 1 lap to go. McCaig, look over the shoulder. The fatigue starting to go. The legs are getting wobbly, starting to feel like jelly as she goes down the back straight. Lysenko is decelerating at the same speed. And here comes the young gun, Huan from China. But McCaig is trying to hold on and gets there. Alessia McCaig, from 3 laps to go, holds on to win by a tyre.
That was absolutely brilliant. That was a drag race. She's a sensational 500-metre rider, and didn't she just show us she took the opportunity? But beyond that, she held off a massive chase as well. Scott, you know her well. You look so chuffed. The whole team is absolutely elated for the young rider. What a ripper.
She was too tired to celebrate.
Well, that was a big ride. I mean,
yeah.
if she had have been absolutely scooped up with half a lap to go, you would have said, well, she did well. But the crowd are going bananas. This is fantastic.
Well, Mum and Dad are here. They often go to all the events that Alessia races around the world as well, not just within Australia. So proud parents.
First international win at this level, and that is a big effort.
There's the moment where she realised.
She realises, and she makes the most of it as well. I mean, Lysenko also in the same position, realising that she had to go. But this is the moment that shows the tenacity, because they were coming fast. Oh, she just holds on ahead of Lysenko, and a great ride as well by Huan from China. Oh, look, that's almost comfortable. That's a full rim, not just a tyre. Huan from China, she's taking home 2 gold for the sprint and the team sprint, and bronze in the keirin. So incredible young talent.
Well, what a finish.
Wow, she got the stadium on their feet too. I haven't heard them quite as loud, just as in that moment. But she holds her composure because she is suffering, but she holds her line beautifully on the track.
Oh, the jelly legs for sure. And look over the shoulder the last time. The boys, Leah Walsh, could not believe it, how close that was. Held on to get the win. It's not the first time we've seen a victory like that in the keirin, but there's that hesitation. No one wants to go from 3 laps out. But when they open up a gap like that, you just have to seize the moment, and that's what she did. 4th of the world last year, win here at a World Cup, just sensational.
Oh, it's opportunity, but it's also physicality, because she not only took the opportunity when she had it, but she was able to hold them off, and that was incredible. That'll give her a lot of confidence.
Actually, it's Coach Carly McCulloch.
Bit of a shoulder rub.
Yeah, I got a lift out to the track this afternoon with them, in Carly's rental car, and with Alessia. So we had a good old chat on the way out, and she was calm and cool and looking forward to it. Had to still get through the semi-finals to get to the finals, but yeah, she's very mature behind her years.
And having Carly as one of the coaches is also an incredible move from Australia.
So the crowd erupted to see Alessia McCaig off the front to start with, and then hold on to get the win in the women's keirin. Asenko, the European champion, and Guan, the sensation from China, in 3rd. So very young final, but certainly packed with quality. Here from our European champions and Madison winners.
Yes, thank you very much, Scott. I'm down here with Maritz Augenstein and Roger Kluger, the winners of the men's Madison here tonight. Now, Maritz, this is the second time I'm interviewing you this weekend, actually. Your first World Cup and second win. I had some really good feedback that you were the happiest interview of 2026. You were so happy the other night. How does it feel to win a second gold?
I'm feeling very happy. It was our goal to win here, and I think we did it pretty well. So we can be very confident for the next races.
Fantastic. And Roger, I'll go to you. Obviously, super experienced. You love Madison. You're obviously very, very good at them. How does it feel to be able to partner with Maritz for this? You've been together for about 6 months since Worlds last year. And how does it feel to be able to impart that kind of wisdom onto him?
Yeah, we continue our journey. Like we had an unlucky start at the Worlds. Some of us, or some of the rest of the world know the story. But yeah, then we come back strong in the Euros, and now here with a second win. And yeah, we're looking forward to some more victories, 2 more World Cups coming up, and then of course the Worlds in the end of the year. So yeah, we're quite happy here to have another big win in a good race, and yeah, we can be satisfied.
Fantastic. You're clearly looking very dominant in a Madison, and it kind of shows how good a team you both are. I've noticed all through the weekend, and when it's been said to me as well in the pits, you guys are both supporting each other for your individual events. It's been fantastic to see. Maritz, how does it feel actually to have Roger with you and to be able to work with him?
Yeah, Roger guides me pretty well, and I think we are harmoning pretty well together, and we have both our strong, me in the sprints, Roger is doing all other stuff, so it's working pretty good.
Oh, fantastic. And Roger, finally, I asked a similar question to Awang last night. You're obviously 40. You are clearly riding at the best level that you can be. And LA 28 is not too far away. You're clearly at the very top of your game still. Are you thinking still to that next Olympics maybe for a 6th participation?
Maybe, yeah. Now I'm thinking about, but I still am saying I'm looking from year to year. So focus on this year, 26, and then obviously probably a small break, and then 27 is the next goal. We have a big World Championships then in August. That's already on the Olympic schedule, let's say. And from there, I'm gonna find out. If I'm still on the level, then I definitely aim for 28, but
Well, throwing in some wonderful German there with the thank you, the Danke from Ben.
He's been doing it in every language, actually. His Mandarin and his Japanese has been on point this week as well. Well done, Ben.
Now, there was a little comment there that Roger did make about the mishap at the World Championships, and that was unfortunately last year where they didn't quite get the points on the board quickly enough, and there was a misunderstanding. They thought they'd finished 3rd, were getting ready for the presentations, and then once they recalculated all of the points, then the Danish team actually were put up into 3rd place. So they finished in 4th. So that's something that will give them the hunger as they go towards Shanghai later this year to try and rectify. But let's go down to the presentations for the men's Madison.
UCI Track World Cup in Perth, Australia. This is the awards ceremony of the men's elite Madison. The medals will be presented by Steve Peterson of Cycling EGM Major Events. In third place, representing Austria, Raphael Kokas and Max Schmidbauer. In second place, Australia, represented by Connor Lay and Liam Walsh. In first place, and winners of the gold medal, Germany, represented by Roger Kluger and Moritz Augenstein. Ladies and gentlemen, the gifts will be presented by Susan Mitchell of Cycling Commissaire. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause for our medalists, Germany, Australia and Austria.
The medals handed out there, and handing out the quokka, the plushie, in honour of International Women's Day. We honour one of our passionate Oz cycling commissaires, Susan Mitchell. She officiates road, track and mountain bike events all across Australia, and from grassroots racing to international competitions, Susan plays a key role in making sure the races run smoothly, and she often leads teams of officials as chief commissaire and working closely with event organisers. And there she is with Louise Jones, OLY. It's fantastic to have some incredible women with us, especially on International Women's Day.
Louise Jones there as well, one of our high-ranking officials, and she's basically the person that's put this whole World Cup together, it must be said, talking to Susan. Former champion herself, Com Games champion from Wales.
It's quite an honour to have an Olympian and such a champion running these events. Certainly understands the sport very well.
Well, the sun is setting here in Perth. What a wonderful place it is. Final day of 3 days of competition here at the Track World Cup. We still have the big race to come, the final points race for the women's omnium. Looking forward to that to finish things off. Big endurance festival here, the men's Madison and then the women's omnium. The sprints have been a great keirin. Hometown, well not hometown, but home country win for Alessia McCaig. That was something for the crowd here in Australia to cheer about. Just wonderful views in the east part of Perth. You can see the city skyscrapers in the background. Not far beyond that is the Swan River that leads you down towards Cottesloe Beach and Scarborough. Fremantle a little bit further to the south. Fantastic place.
A beautiful sunset over the Indian Ocean. Ashley and Kudinoff.
Well, they do say, though, if you're going to go to the beach, because they are wonderful beaches here, get there in the morning sometime, because once you get past midday on some of these hot days, say goodbye to the soles of your feet. You can't walk across the sand to get to the water.
Oh, the ocean here is magnificent. The final event, the riders coming out for the final event of the women's omnium. Ashley and Kudinoff before was bringing Alyssa Pilates up to the track. They'll roll around the bottom for a lap or two before they either go up to the fence or get held on the bottom.
Just going out of shot there was Boris Clark, New Zealander, that's working with the Chinese team. There he is. The redhead from China, as he's now known. New Zealander, but good rider himself, raced in the National Road Series in Australia for a couple of seasons. Now working with Benoit Vet 2, looking after the Chinese. Ireli Acevedo into her domain now. This is the points race. She's the world champion in this discipline, but it's a bit different, a standalone points race, to what we see in the Omnium. One is the fatigue of the 3 previous races. 2, it's the tactics of the top team, the top riders, focusing and trying to neutralise each other. It's a little bit more open when it comes to a standalone points race world championships, but the points are pretty tight at the top, and Acevedo could certainly get herself up there onto the podium. Stenberg, she's very experienced, but only a 2-point lead. She's going to have to be at her best.
And the opportunity for a rider in Alyssa Pilates' position is to take a lap, gain 20 points while the others are looking at each other. That is the best bet when you find yourself a little ways back. She made a bit of an error in the elimination. She's still young and still learning, and that's how you learn. We've got a mix of experience in this race and some up-and-coming developing riders. Stenberg, who is leading, she was 5th at the Olympics in this event, 33 years of age, knows her way around a bike race, that's for sure. She's a very savvy rider. Uchino, the young Japanese rider who won a gold medal already in the Madison, she's sitting in 2nd.
Love the gloves as well. Nice little pattern on the gloves as we see Yugaka Uchino. Last little bit of liquid, the only time you can have some once the race starts. No more fluid intake. Sitting in 3rd place overall coming into this final discipline, Li Xing Wing from Hong Kong and Uchino from Japan. 2nd above her, Stenberg from Norway. They're the 3 riders towards the front there, so light blue colours. Hong Kong have some real opportunity now. They've got some great new coaching staff over these last couple of years. Just need the coordination, get the talent onto the track. They've got the experience now in the administration staff. And after this first formation lap, the final event will be underway. 80-lap points race, 4th and final race within the Omnium event. 2-point lead that Stenberg has over Uchino. Real opportunity for Acevedo, Pilates, Chen, those riders that are a bit further down, to try and sneak away and gain a lap. Gain a lap on the field, 20 points added to your tally, and then you're right up back there in the money for the points and onto the podium.
Uchino leading through. She had quite a heavy fall in the elimination, but rejoined and then won. So shows a lot of tenacity. We thought she might change her suit in between, but you can still see some of the scuff marks on the long sleeves. Some of these suits are into the thousands of dollars per suit. So it's not ideal when they get some scuff marks. They are designed to be very aerodynamic and efficient.
Acevedo, the green colours, Mexico, top of the track. Ramirez, Trinidad and Tobago with the white sleeves. And it's Uchino in that aero position.
And Pilates riding with short sleeves. It's unusual these days to see riders in short sleeves, not long, but it is quite warm out on track. And after already completing 3 events, they really need to make sure they're in the best shape coming into this final event. A conservative start. Everything they do in this race needs to be in service of earning points. So there won't be any wasted energy, no heroics, no attacks if they aren't trying to lead to direct points.
Anguilla from Spain. 5th place for her on 96. So only 10 points away from the bronze medal. And so many points to be had in this final points race. We're 4 laps away from the first of the intermediate sprints. 5, 3, 2 and 1 points on offer. Double points on the final sprint. 20 points to gain a lap on the field. But you have to be pretty strong to be able to do that. There's always the chance that a field that is this fatigued after so many races, the final event after 3 days, let alone just the Omnium here today, that gaps can open up really quickly when the first sprints start happening.
And points races in Omniums are different to standalone points races. On paper, Azevedo has, as the world champion in this event, there will certainly be a lot of eyes on her, but Stenberg and Uchino, they need to defend their positions, currently sitting in gold and silver.
Big bunch sprint coming up for the first of the intermediates. 72 laps to go. They've got the bell the next time around. Uchino controlling things from the top of the field. And right down through underneath, though, it's Chen that's going to go for the first points. And you can just see Campos from Portugal couldn't even follow the wheel. Too tired after so many races. First of the intermediates. Chen it is that leads the way. Li Ziwing from Hong Kong. And this will be a comfortable 5 points. A huge effort being made from Stenberg, but it'll be for minimal points. So a big effort for very minimal gain. She got 1 point from that big sprint.
Well, if she keeps going with it, it makes a little bit more sense, but she can't really afford to do that for all of the sprints. She'll pay the price for it.
Well, 5 points go to China for Chen. Good sprint from her. Azevedo immediately putting the pressure on. The points race world champion wants a hard race. Harder it is, the better it is for the Mexican.
Well, they picked up the bronze medal in the women's Madison last night, but it was largely the final 20 laps that Azevedo and Ariola really changed the outcome of the race. In the men's Madison earlier, Germany scored in every sprint. That's not usually done, but it was done last night in the women's Madison with Team Japan, with Kikita riding alongside Uchino. Now, Uchino is the faster of the two riders, and she was thrown in for a lot of the sprints, so this will suit her really well. And that was 120 laps, so 30 kilometres. So we know Uchino's got the staying power, but we are 4 events in, so a bit different.
After that one acceleration from Ureli Azevedo, paces come off again. Time to recover, getting ready for the next sprint. 65 laps to go as they come around down the back straight now. Anguilla from Spain swings up, goes towards the back. And the pace has really come off in the field. Tactical battle. Big effort from Stenberg in the previous sprint. Only 1 point was the gain, but that gives her a 3-point lead now over the battered and bruised, the dusty Uchino, who crashed in the previous race. Doesn't seem to affect her too much.
So on the standings, we will see the overall standings updated. They're not the points race, that is the overall. And as every point that they earn in this points race contributes directly to that, which is dissimilar to the first 3 events. Stenberg got the 1 point in 4th. Sevchikova got the 2 points. Li Ziwing, she got the 3 points, and it was Ning Chen who got the 5 points.
We are sneaking up on the first sprint, and Alicia Polides, big signal from her that she wants to go for this one. This is how Chen picked up that first sprint. It's Chen that's in second position, accelerating to go after Polides. 62 to go. They'll get the bell the next time around. It's going to be a huge effort from Polides to pick up the points here. She does not want Uchino to close the gap down, but I feel she's almost into the slipstream now. 250 metres to go. Look over the shoulder from Polides. Uchino hunting her down, just waiting, ready to pounce. Drifts up to the back wheel. Up around the outside comfortably. We saw her do this in the Madison so often last night. So it's 5 points to Uchino. And Stenberg again around the outside for minimal points. So that will make a change in the overall standings. Will it? It does. So equal points for the 2 riders at the top, Uchino and Stenberg.
Stenberg is clearly very strong. I mean, she wouldn't be leading into this race in first position without that. We've also seen her make up enormous ground in the sprints, but for minimal gain, she really needs to be cautious of her positioning, because as we progress through the race and gaps start to open up, you cannot do that every sprint. Come from 6 back, because not with the likes of Uchino, but a very efficient sprint for her. I can't help but feel for Pilates that she wasn't just moving then to try and get the sprint points. She was looking for a much bigger gap to potentially open up, because she does need a lap if she wants, and those 20 points if she wants to stay in this bike race at all. So perhaps an attack either directly after a sprint or around the 6-7 laps to go rather than 2.
Anyone that has the legs, this is around the time to go. If there's hesitation in the bunch, if you're a long way down the standings, the top 2 riders might not care too much about you. But of course, it's easy to say it, so difficult to do it. Solo attack at this level with so much tiredness in those muscles, it's very difficult to do.
It is. That's a caveated point, because you say if she wants to do this, she needs to do this, but that doesn't at all necessarily line up with what's happening out on the track. It's just an on-paper strategic thought, which is something that they will have dived into with their teams. They will have a plan A to Z of all the different ways it might play out.
Closing in on the next sprint. 54 to go now.
Nobody wanting to take responsibility for the pace at this point. It is very on again, off again. That suits some riders, but others, it will deaden your legs a little bit. But the big battle at the moment is between Uchino and Stenberg, who are equal points.
Eva Anguilla from Spain, top of the track. Pilates just below her. Behind Anguilla, Sevchikova from Czechia. Uchino, Japan. Campos from Portugal comes up on the inside as well with the red and green sleeves. And they're constantly looking around the track to see how many laps to go it is now. Campos it was that brings them down with 52 to go, the bell next time around. And a bit of a battle now for position. 3 abreast. Pilates on the outside. Petra Sevchikova on the inside. Campos being pushed further back on the inside underneath. And Uchino boxed in here. Stenberg on the outside. If she can go here with Pilates, Uchino has to fight through underneath, but she's a crafty rider. Look at that, the gap opens up, so Uchino can get up. Now it's head-to-head between the top 2, Stenberg and Uchino. Petra Sevchikova wants some points in here as well, but Stenberg will get them. Uchino second. So Stenberg will go back into the lead now by 2 points. Good little sprint between them.
That was fantastic. This is the moment of opportunity, and the rider taking that opportunity is our Spanish rider, Eva Anguilla. It didn't last too long, but that timing was brilliant, because that is when everybody's just swung up from a sprint, they've wiped some speed off. That can do a lot of damage.
Well, it's the right idea, and it was just because Stenberg was already with momentum, drive straight onto the wheel. If that didn't happen, the gap would have blown out straight away. Uchino only reacted because Stenberg was there.
Strategy, good timing.
Yeah.
Not as good as it could be.
Well, wait till Uchino and Stenberg are boxed in somewhere or towards the back, then go on the attack. You just don't want the strongest riders to be at the front when you're trying to attack off the front.
So we're seeing a tight battle at the top between Stenberg and Uchino, but it's certainly not sorted out for the medals. Li Shiwing from Hong Kong, China, and Petra Sevchikova, they will both need to put themselves on the scoreboard to sort out this bronze. A lot of riders still in contention. We've still got 5 sprints left to go. Double points on the last one. 30 points maximum just on sprints if a rider was to win them all. 20 points if you take a lap. You can take a lap quite quickly. Cameron Meyer taught us that in the World Championships in the points race in 2012. He took a lap within the last 10 laps, caught everybody napping, took the overall title.
Quite extraordinary that was. Cameron Meyer here looking after Matthew Richardson as we see the top two, Stenberg and Uccino. And with the points that they've been able to gain in these first couple of sprints, you can see the gap really opening up a little bit now to Lee and Sevchikova.
There's been a big change too in the way that Stenberg is riding. She is now firmly attached herself to Uccino like a bad smell. She is just following her.
Drifting off the front, Eva Anguilla. Now, the rider that she's with is Asal Rizaveva, but she's already lost a lap in this race. So she's struggling a little bit from Uzbekistan.
And a drift off the front versus an attack are two very different things. So in a good position, but it's not changing the outcome. But with 2 laps until the points are available, that's where Uccino and Stenberg will start coming into the picture.
And look at that body language from Ureli Acevedo. Out of the saddle, climbing. She noticed that everyone was watching and looking, but the next sprint's coming and she wants to go for it. 4 wide around the outside for Mexico. Anguilla on the inside though, but it will be Acevedo that comes over the top. Pilates is in the mix, and once again, Uccino wants points. Stenberg is out of this one. Further back, big points gain for second place there for Uccino. So that'll put her back into the overall lead now by 1 point over Stenberg. So it really is a seesaw battle between these two champions.
Acevedo, we know she's a great points race rider. She took the win there, but she'll need to do more than that if she wants to catapult herself up onto that medal standing. 1 point now between Uccino and Stenberg. It's the Japanese rider, victorious in the Madison. They scored in every sprint in that Madison. So she's able to do the consistent sprint in the rhythm that this race requires.
Acevedo now up into 6th place on 99 points. So she's closing the gap. The bronze medal is still very much a possibility. There is the chance a lap could be taken, but that gets less and less as we get further into this race. 37 laps to go when they come around.
So Acevedo, within 10 points of that bronze medal, that 10 points is available just in the last sprint. So we've got 4 left to go. If you were to win all of them, that's 25 points. Very open race, particularly for that bronze medal. There is an assumption with the leaders that while mathematically they could get beaten, if they've gotten to this point in the Omnium on the 4th event, that they are emerging as the strongest riders. So unlikely that the event will continue without either of them scoring any more points.
Ning Chen on the attack. We did see a little move there from Rizieva, but we know that she's really just happy to be out there because she's not that competitive against the top riders here. But Chen certainly does have some speed. Swings up, didn't have the gap that she wanted. And where are the big stars? So the 2 races really starting to happen here. It's the race for gold and silver, Uccino and Stenberg. Then you've got Lee, Anguilla, Sevchikova and Acevedo, the riders that are really looking towards that bronze medal.
Stenberg really just following Uccino now. Pilates got between them in the last sprint, and that really worked into Uccino's favour. But we'll see here when Uccino swings up, up goes Stenberg. It can be frustrating when a rider is following you around like that, but Uccino has a better sprint. So she is in a dominant position. If Stenberg's behind her, she's got to try and get around her.
Acevedo underneath, and Pilates very quick to go down and shut that one down. I think Pilates and Acevedo would be a good combination. If they can get the timing right, they would really both want to be off the front, swapping turns.
And the closer it gets toward the end of the race, actually Uccino and Stenberg would have no need to chase them. They could focus on each other, and using energy to do that could come at a big cost. Stenberg, big acceleration, albeit in the seat.
And the next sprint coming. So Lee from Hong Kong, out of the saddle sprinting, then into the aero position for the final lap. Acevedo in second, Stenberg, Uccino following her down the back straight. Big acceleration from the Norwegian. Little bit of a flick as she comes up to the shoulder of Lee, and Uchino once again gets over the top. So another 2-point advantage over Stenberg for Uchino.
Well, Stenberg put herself in the perfect position there. Uchino, she just is quicker. And she did a really good job of kind of turning the tides and sitting then in behind Stenberg. In the same way that Stenberg is following Uchino, Uchino also needs to just keep an eye out for Stenberg as well. The pair of them extend their advantage in the gold and silver.
They are the two dominant riders, that's for sure.
Well, Lee's really extending her bronze medal position as well at this point, really fortifying it. And Pilates is the next to move. The Australian needs to take a lap and gain 20 points if she wants to be back in this race. And the peloton has hesitated. This is the biggest gap we've seen so far in this points race. And while we're watching Pilates power away, when the bunch comes into shot, we'll notice a very big difference in speed.
Well, the gap is so big now that it would take a big effort to try and close it down. As about a third of a lap now advantage. Stenberg just putting a little bit of tempo onto the peloton, but no need. Half a lap it is. So Pilates, and we've got 25 to go. So if she can be out there for a few more laps, she might be able to pick up the 5 points in the next sprint. 20 points for the lap gain. Just needs to stay on tempo.
She'd go into probably 4th position if she can get 25 points, which puts her in the hunt for the bronze medal. So great move, and this is exactly what she needed to do. Without this, she just wasn't even a shot for the podium. So good on her. And for Uchino and Stenberg, they're unbeatable for Pilates, so they're not too fussed by this.
So
strategically great ride.
The gap coming down. Question is, will she be out there long enough to pick up the next sprint? That she would love to get 25 points, not just the 20 for the lap game, but she might get there too quickly. There is the tactic of hanging back and just making sure you wait until after the next sprint. But and then you can see there she's drifted up to the top. That's what she's hoping to do. Doesn't want to get the lap gain just yet, but they were going too slow. It's been too easy for her. Still hasn't been designated a lap taken. So this will be interesting. I'll watch the commissaires just to make sure. They still have her as the leader, and they've given her the bell. So it's 1 lap to the next sprint. As long as that rider gets the bell to signify they're on the sprint lap, they will get the points. So she will get the maximum now of 25 points. Sprint win, lap gain, job done, well good.
And now we're looking for Li Shi-wing because she's in the bronze medal position. Is she going to get any points? Hong Kong, China is the blue jersey.
It's the two big ones again, head-to-head, but this time Stenberg over Uchino. So that's only a 1-point advantage, though, because that was for 3 and 2 points.
Well, they haven't yet given Pilates. There they go. Now she's got that 5 points for winning the sprint as well. So catapults her up into 4th position, 6 points behind Li Shi-wing. They've got 2 sprints left, one of which is double points. Pilates definitely within distance, but she'll carry a little bit of tiredness after that big effort.
Needs to ride smart now. Pilates Lee also to try and stay in the bronze medal position. The light blue colours of Hong Kong sitting in the middle of the field. So it has absolutely turned into a race between 2 for the gold medal and possibly a race between 2 for the bronze. There's Pilates. Great lap taken. Timed it perfectly to get the gap. You want that hesitation to come into it. You can only get that if the gap opens up quickly. So 16 laps to go.
It just shows how quickly fortunes can change in a points race as well.
Next attack coming. Look at the green colours. Second rider on the track. Acevedo, and Lee, who sits in 3rd place, has gone with her.
Pilates all over it, though. She is the next to react. We can see her coming in the back there into 3rd position.
Stenberg having to close the gap down as well. So Uchino at the front. Stenberg with a little bit of extra effort to have to close the gap. And they'll come around for 14 to go. Penultimate sprint not too far away. The final of our 5-point sprints, then double points on the last.
4 riders desperate for points just to see whether they can either get a medal or maintain which colour it will be. Uccino, Stenberg, Lee and Pilates are those 4. They all need points in this and the final sprint because that will really have the potential to change the order.
Mathematically, with 15 points from the 2 sprint wins to come, right down to 7th place, could still possibly come away with a bronze medal. Unlikely though, but it's still possible. Sevchikova now off the front, and she is that rider in 7th place. It could go up to 115 if she picks up the next 2 sprints. Sprint will be the next time around. And another bit of a scramble. So the riders up the front, they're all the ones scrambling to try and get themselves onto the podium. The bronze medal still very much up for grabs.
But here comes Stenberg in 5th, but motoring around. Pilates on her wheel. They are on a mission to get points. Uccino is out of the shot.
So out in front we have Acevedo, hunted down by Stenberg. Then it's Pilates, Lee, Uccino, no points for her this time. So maximum points of 5 for Stenberg. Anita Stenberg goes to the top. That's a brilliant sprint from her. No points for Uccino at that time. So 3 points is the difference coming into the final sprint.
Well,
gap also closes for 3rd and 4th.
Anything between Stenberg and Uccino, there can still be change. Pilates needs to get 1st or 2nd, and Lee 4th or worse if she wants to get that bronze medal.
Don't we love double points on the final sprint? It can change everything.
Don't we love the mathematics of it?
Well, unless you're the rider that's trying to hold on to your position and someone gets the double points behind you, but it certainly changes everything in these races.
It can be a bit torturous, but there is a comfort in knowing that this is the last time. You can throw the kitchen sink at it, and then you get to stop.
So if Uccino wins the final sprint with Stenberg 2nd, Uccino will get the gold medal. Reverse the positions, of course Stenberg will get the win. 10, 6, 4 and 2. Points up for grabs in this final sprint. 6.5 laps to go. Campos, this could change everything as well, because if she goes away and takes the 10 points, that takes opportunities away from others. So Campos from Portugal, Pilates wasting a little bit of energy, looks over her shoulder to see if Lee is there. She wasn't. But they all come back together with Campos still off the front.
Well, it's coming down. We're in the final 6 laps of what has been a 50-kilometre series of races. This points race, 20 of those 50 kilometres have been raced, and it is still, after all of that, wide open for the gold and the silver and the bronze.
Daniela Campos, the 23-year-old, drifts off the front. Possibility of picking up 10 points. She's well down in the overall standings, though. And a real tactical battle with riders behind.
A big chase for a moment there from Ning Chen, the Chinese rider. Pilates had a great wheel just on there, but there was hesitation. The group swung up. That still gives the advantage to Campos from Portugal.
3 laps to go.
A disaster for Pilates if Campos stays off the front, but she can't chase her on her own. Acevedo might be the one who needs to take Pilates around the outside. That's what we're seeing now. But where is Uccino and where is Stenberg?
2 laps to go, 500 metres left of this race. Women's Omnium points race, the final discipline. Stenberg with a 3-point lead over Uccino. It's Norway versus Japan. Then it's Hong Kong versus Australia in the race for the bronze medal. Coming around to get the bell, Campos is still off the front for Portugal. Maximum points will be attained by the peloton because they blast over the top of Campos. Lee, she's in the bronze medal position. She wants to stay there and consolidate it. Stenberg and Uccino, that's the race for gold and silver. Stenberg high, Uccino underneath. She won't get the points. Stenberg will win gold. Anita Stenberg, enough points in the final sprint to guarantee gold over Uccino. Fantastic, consistent riding from the champion from Norway.
She scored in 7 of the 8 sprints in the points race, the most consistent of any rider, not just in this final event, but for the whole 4-event series. And Anita Stenberg, sensational ride for the gold.
So the only change out of that final sprint was that Pilates went from 4th down to 6th. So she did get leapfrogged in the wrong direction from an Aussie perspective, but Anita Stenberg claims the final gold medal ahead of Tsuyaka Uchino and Li Xingwing. Solid ride in that final sprint to make sure that she stayed on that podium position in 3rd. Acevedo, courageous from the World Points Race champion, the first rider not on the podium in 4th place.
Those double points can be brutal.
Yeah.
It was a great ride from Li Xingwing. She knew that she needed to stay in front of Pilates to keep that bronze medal, and she did exactly that by taking the sprint from the front in pursuit of Campos. So really well done from her. Stenberg, just a picture of consistency, Scott, because Uchino, she was fast, but Stenberg, she just rode like steel.
It was close in the end, 5 points. Could have all changed in that final sprint. So a great race between those two, Stenberg and Uchino. Li Xingwing, courageous performance. She went missing a little bit through that race, but was able to do enough to finish 3rd in the end. Acevedo and Anguilla leapfrogging over Pilates in that final sprint. Solid race. 1 lap taken, of course, Alyssa Pilates, which took her right up in the standings and gave her that opportunity to get onto the podium, just couldn't finish it off in the end.
She started the race in 8th. The only chance she had was to take a lap, and she did that, and that was very well done. You can see a great lead in Li Xingwing. She needed to stay ahead of Pilates to keep that bronze medal.
And you can see from Uchino in the middle, even though she was on the inside in the slipstream, she wasn't closing the gap down. She was really fatigued in that final sprint. So the strength of Stenberg to be on the outside, go around to pick up some points, that's why she is the champion. Good sprint, look at that. Fanned out right across the track.
Great racing.
Acevedo picking up the 10 points.
And in all of the events we've seen here at the World Cup, big smile from Stenberg, very satisfying ride. It's been really close across the board. Every race, bunch race has come down to that final sprint, which is unusual. Usually when it comes to omniums, they're often at least half decided before that.
Well, all the attention in Norway in the last month has been with Johannes Klæbo winning the most number of gold medals at Winter Olympics. Time for Anita Stenberg to shine.
She wins
the warmth of Perth.
Yeah, she wins this gold medal about 50 Celsius degrees warmer than what was going on in Milano Cortina.
Cross-country skiing, not a big participation sport in Western Australia. Well, we can go down to Alessia McCaig. Actually, Ben has our keirin champion from Bendigo in Victoria.
Thank you very much, Scott and Kate. I'm down here with Alessia McCaig, the winner of the Women's Keirin here for the first World Cup of 2026. Alessia, your first global individual gold medal. How does that feel?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think I've had a few opportunities, been in a couple of 1-to-6 finals internationally, and yeah, I'm super happy to be on the podium. I mean, for the first time, but to win as well is crazy. So I'm super excited.
Oh, so good. And let's go back to 3 laps to go in that final there. The riders gave you a gap. They were all looking at each other head on a swivel. And then you noticed coming out of turn 2 that you did have that gap and you gutsily went for it for 2.5 laps to go. How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it hurt, definitely. But yeah, I saw I had the gap and I thought I just had to go for it. I saw the opportunity and I took it, and yeah, it paid off in the end. And I'm super excited, super happy.
Fantastic. And obviously we're in Perth, so we're in Australia, home crowd for you. Your parents are in the crowd as well, and the roof almost lifted off this place cheering you on. How much did the crowd help you?
Oh, honestly, they were what got me across the line. Like, I just heard the crowd yelling at me every time I came around the front straight, the back straight, and my coach Carly, she's over in like bend 3, and I just heard someone yelling at me crazy, and yeah, they really got me across the line, and I'm super excited and happy to race in front of a home crowd.
So good. And so finally, I guess this must give you a stack of confidence going to future competitions. Where are we going to see Alessia McCaig next?
I have a lot of confidence now. I've got nationals in about 2 weeks in Brisbane, and then we're heading off to Hong Kong for the next World Cup. So it's super excited for that. Racing team sprint there with Christina and Molly. So yeah, super excited to see how we go.
Awesome. Alessia McKay, thank you so much. Congratulations on your ride tonight, and enjoy the podium.
She will indeed enjoy the podium. I did say I got to lift out to the track with her and Carly. So it was great to see them before the start. They were full of confidence. They weren't talking it up, but you could just tell they were relaxed as mum and dad. Proud mum and dad. They were in Santiago, Chile last year as well. So they were over in Copenhagen at the World Championships the year before. So they're absolutely loving it and giving so much support. Very well-known cycling family in Bendigo. We can go down to the presentation now for the women's keirin.
Elite keirin. The medals will be presented by Steve Peterson, Aus Cycling Executive General Manager of Major Events. In third place, representing China, Yuan Li Ying. In second place, and winner of the silver medal, representing the athletes nation, Alina Lysenko. In first place, winner of the gold medal and representing Australia, Alessia McKay. Ladies and gentlemen, the gifts will be presented by Bertie May, Australian High Performance Team Soignier. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause for our medalists. Yuan Li Ying, Alina Lysenko, and Alessia McKay.
The sun has set over the Indian Ocean here at the Speed Dome in Perth. The final day of the UCI Track World Cup, and another interview to come though. It's with the European champion who grew up here in Perth, but he now rides for Great Britain. Matthew Richardson was the standalone winner of the men's sprint.
Thank you very much, Scott and Kate. I'm down here with Matt Richardson. Richo, fantastic ride tonight, the winner of our men's keirin here for this first World Cup of 2026. Or men's sprint rather, sorry. How did it feel to race out here on our home at Velodrome?
Yeah, it was super special. I mean, as soon as I saw that this race was on the calendar, I knew I had to be here. I know how much this race means to the people of Perth. You know, I grew up here racing my bike, and we always talked about, you know, how awesome it was back in the day when we had all these big bike races. So when we had another big bike race come here, I knew I had to be a part of it.
Fantastic. And you got to race the final against Lee Hoffman, former teammate, obviously, in your Australian team sprint team. How did that feel going up against Lee? Did that give you a bit of an advantage, maybe knowing how Lee works a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I've obviously raced Lee quite a lot, national championships, Oceania championships, and now obviously at Worlds and World Cups and things like that. So I knew Lee's strengths and weaknesses, and obviously know mine. So it was just about riding to mine better than he rides to his, and yeah, that happened to be enough.
And I guess I'll say, you know, we obviously raced the keirin last night. You came into this event, obviously fastest man in the world, fastest man to ever do it, over 200 metres. And the keirin just missed out against the Wang yesterday, and a home velodrome. Did you feel under a bit of pressure for tonight's race?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I obviously want to win everything I do, and, you know, chapeau to Arwang last night was crazy. Like, to be, stepping around in the last minute like that, I didn't expect it at all. But I guess, you know, Perth does have really long straights, so he did have a little bit of an advantage there. But nah, it was a great ride by him. I didn't expect it at all. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because I know he's going to sit there and wait, and I don't need to worry about him until those last 15 metres. So, it was a great ride by him, but obviously, it was good tonight as well.
Fantastic. And I guess finally, you've obviously had a great start to 2026. Where are we going to see Richo next coming up?
Yeah, I'll be at the Hong Kong World Cup, so that's where I'll be next.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Matt Richardson, and congratulations tonight.
Certainly was an exhibition of sprinting from Matthew Richardson today. The talk was in the keirin that he thought he had it won. Got halfway down the finishing straight, knew he was coming over the top of Hoffman, just backed it off a little bit, and then forgot about the man from Malaysia who did pop over the top. He did kick the pedals again to try and get there and realised, oh no, should have ridden it all the way to the line. Rectified that in the sprint though.
Well, you like to think you only make that mistake once. Giving his mum a hug, which is fantastic. It's very special for him to be able to compete here.
Well, let's go down to Matt Pointer, who's doing our presentations now.
Sprint. The medals will be presented by Steve Peterson, Executive General Manager, Oz Cycling Major Events. In third place and winner of the bronze medal representing Malaysia, Azulhasni Awang. In second place and winner of the silver medal representing Australia, Lee Hoffman. In first place, winner of the gold medal and representing Great Britain, Matthew Richardson. The gifts will be presented by Louise Jones, dual Olympian and Commonwealth Games gold medalist. Ladies and gentlemen, please once again show a round of applause for our medalists, Azia Wang, Lee Hoffman and Matthew Richardson.
What a quality podium that is. And it just shows that you don't have to be a particular pigeonhole of height or body shape to be a cyclist. The difference between them all. Throw in Mikhail Yakovlev, who's taller again, not by another 9 centimetres over the top of Lee Hoffman.
Bit of a tradition to pick up the winner. They did it with Awang yesterday, and now Richo gets the honour with a quokka in his hand. It's great to see a big Malaysian contingent here cheering for Awang. They love him.
Oh, he's so popular back in Malaysia, although he has lived since 2007 in Melbourne, and when he does retire, whenever that may be, has said he's definitely staying in Australia. That is his home now. The family's been here for so long. All the kids in school, loving it.
They put on quite a show for the fans here as well. Across all the racing, but the sprinting in particular was very riveting.
Well, one more presentation to come, and the winner of that race was Anita Stenberg. Ben is now with her. The Norwegian champion gets a win here in Perth in the women's omnium.
Thank you very much, Scott. Yeah, I'm down here with Anita Stenberg, your women's omnium champion here for the first World Cup of 2026. Anita, what a fantastic ride. How did that feel in the final points race there to seal that one off?
Oh, I think it was really hard racing today. Like here with the Japanese rider, we were always fighting for the points. Like she was leading, I was leading, she was leading, and she is a really, really fast rider, so it was a really hard battle.
And we saw you were obviously very dominant early on in the scratch race. You went off the front, took the win solo, and we saw lots of girls fading through the night in the heat. Were you worried that maybe you'd gone out too hard in that first event?
Well, yeah, I could for sure feel it in the tempo race. Like my legs were still a little bit heavy after the scratch, but you know, I wanted to fight really hard. it was really hard the whole time, but I was prepared for this race, and I really wanted to at least be on the podium and have the victory if possible.
Fantastic. And Anita, you're no stranger to success. You've obviously had a very good career on the track and on the road. Where are we going to see Anita Stenberg next?
Well, I will go to the next World Cup as well in Hong Kong. It will also be a really hard fight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Anita, Tech, thank you very much, and congratulations. Enjoy the podium tonight.
She sounds typical of Norwegian endurance athletes. Loves a hard fight, cannot wait for the next one.
And there's an enormous amount of respect between all of the riders here. In most of the interviews, they have paid tribute to those that they have beaten, and I think it's really wonderful when there's such close racing. It's a big honour to win a World Cup. This is the first of the season.
Right in the middle there, we can see, well, there's our floor manager, Olivier Moser, but I can see Cameron Meyer and Matt Brampton there. So Brampton, British, but coaching Australians, and Cameron Meyer, Australian, coaching the British. The final presentation, let's go down to it. It's for the women's omnium.
The medals will be presented by Steve Peterson, Executive General Manager of Cycling Major Events. In third place, winner of the bronze medal representing Hong Kong, China, Li Ziwing. In second place, and winner of the silver medal representing Japan, Suyaka Uchino. In first place, winner of the gold medal representing Norway, Anita Stenberg. To present the gifts, please welcome Carly McCulloch, Deputy Chief de Mission for the Australian Olympic team. Ladies and gentlemen, please, one more time your applause for our medalists. Li Ziwing, Suyaka Uchino, and Anita Stenberg.
It was a great battle all the way down to the end. The final race here in Perth, UCI Track World Cup. The first round is completed for 2026. All tracks lead to Shanghai in October later this year. And they've all got that eye in the distance towards Los Angeles 2028. And some of the younger riders looking towards Brisbane 2032. Of course, the Olympics coming back to Australia 28 years on. What a wonderful week it has been here in Western Australia. The overall points tally, which is so important for qualifications for the World Championships and ultimately for the Olympics. Australia on top, ahead of Germany and China. Czechia, Japan, confidently up there in 5th place. Good to see Hong Kong, China, Chinese Taipei, and you've got some of the individual neutral representing athletes there as well. So plenty of teams that have been up there in the mix. You throw in some of the other events like the European Championships, Continental Championships, Pan Ams, giving the points for some of the other countries as well that are further down. But yeah, pretty good spread, and great to see Australia up on top. It's been a wonderful time here in Perth. The medal ceremony, or the medal presentations, has also Australia at the very top, Kate.
It's fantastic to see Australia rewarded, the biggest team here. At a home event, it is what we expect, but it's just been sensational racing, hasn't it? It's a wonderful venue, resurfaced in the last couple of years, and there we can see it again. 3 gold for Australia, also 3 gold for Germany, but some minor medals to boost Australia up the medal tally. People's Republic of China and Japan, just endurance, it was a combination of both. And for 15 different countries to get onto the medal table, that's pretty impressive. It shows a very competitive event.
Absolutely. The talent is deep, and we're finished with Western Australia. The next time we get to see you is in April, and it'll be from the World Cup in Hong Kong. Thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to your company when we go to Hong Kong.